Okay, everyone, welcome. Take your seats. We are going to get underway. We've got a lot of images tonight, so I'm going to go through my weekly announcements, and then we'll get underway. Let me turn the lights down and remind those of you at home you are not enjoying popcorn here like we have here. Upcoming meetings. Next week, our annual CPS End of the Year Awards, and this is always a lot of fun. We'll be giving out the Community Service Awards, the Presidential Awards, the Volunteer Awards, and plus all of the competition awards. Best photographer, best in each class, and then there will also be cake and refreshments too. So a little bit of everything, but it's always a fun night, and that's next week. And that'll be right here in the clubhouse. The following week, May 31st, we have a Zoom presentation on activist photography, which is a little bit different. Steve Kagan's going to talk about really projects he takes on in mostly, I think, in South America and other places, but he designs these in order to actually change things, not just to document, but to actually affect change too. So his philosophy is very interesting, and he's going to walk us through all of that, and that's on May 31st. The clubhouse will be open here. It'll be a Zoom presentation. June 7th, they couldn't find anyone to talk. So they came to me. And what we are I'm putting together a big production, Photographing India, where I'm doing it not just, well, here's the camel, here's this. Going to go through, there's a lot of new photographic techniques that I've picked up there. So it's going to be really going through the how to photograph, tips and tricks, some of the gear, some of the photographs, how they were made. So it's a little bit more than just the travelogue. We're actually going to be getting way into the photography on that. So that is June 7th, live. I will be here physically. And then June 14th, the Penguins with our own Bev Kenworthy. There it is. Bev was recently on a cruise to Antarctica there, and she has a lot of things, and I think her talk is penguins, the birds that bite but don't fly. She told me today. I couldn't fit it all on the slide, but Bev is going to give us a presentation of her recent trip, and that should be very, very interesting. That's June 14th here in the clubhouse. Now, our next SIG meeting, June 6th, first Thursday of every month, light painting, outdoor and indoor light painting. Dave's going to be going over everything, camera settings, equipment, and then we'll break into individual camera groups. Upcoming field trips this Sunday, back to the wild. Always a really exciting field trip. That's the bird sanctuary where they have the predator birds, the eagles, the owls and the hawks and everything, actually out in the yard on small little tethers so you could get up close, but not too close. Upcoming field trip, May 26th, Willis Iris Garden, which is part of the Rockefeller Greenhouse as well, and that'll be a CPS trip. There's more information on our website about that. Mansfield Reformatory, June 1st, always a favorite. We get to get in early, able to use tripods and things like that, so it's always an exciting field trip. That's coming up June 1st. Westlake Porter Library exhibit of CPS. The reception and open house is June 2nd, 2:30 to 4. The theme is Capturing the Elements, Atmospheric Conditions in Focus, and light refreshments will be served. But again, that's all CPS members that'll be on display there. That's coming up June 2nd. We still need the chair of the competition committee. Again, anyone who's interested, there's just a good organizational skills will teach you everything you need to know. A lot of this can be done remotely at home. If you're interested, again, through our website, the information tab under volunteers, let me know and I will put you in touch to the appropriate people. And as always, this and all of our public meetings are on our YouTube channel. Our Zoom meetings are on the Zoom and SIG meetings are on the members portal of the website. You sign in and go there, because those are private. But the public meetings, go to our website, click on the YouTube icon in the upper right there. That takes you to the YouTube page, but you have to click on live again, which is counterintuitive. But once you do that, you're at the page that has all of our meetings in date order, and you could see any one of these again. So enough of that. Get that out of the way. Let's get started on tonight. But before we do, unfortunately, we've become a big organization, and we do have attorneys. And so we have to have, again, disclaimers before our night tonight. The opinions expressed by the critiquers tonight are their own and are not intended to apply an official rating of the image. Other opinions may vary. All right? And 2, any humans or animals removed from any of the images by editing software have not been harmed. So that is, wanted to get that out of the way. And one final little thought. I found this yesterday on Facebook. One of the people I follow is Blake Rudis. Blake Rudis is one of the Photoshop gurus. He's a really good in post-production. He's an excellent, fantastic photographer. And his point was this: be grateful that artist photographers show you their vision, not what came straight out of the camera. And this is true because you will have a lot of people tell you, I don't process, or this is straight out of the camera. And there is a problem with that, in that, again, this is all art. And I firmly believe, and what we'll see tonight is the visions are great. You know, there are a lot of great visions you have. But to complete that, you have good equipment, which you all have, but then that post-production is the thing to bring your picture to that next level, to make it spectacular. And everyone does it, and it's what you need. It's not an artificial thing. I'm not talking about putting things in or whatnot. So I had to leave you with Blake's word. So let me just tell you a bit about how tonight is going to work. First of all, we ran into a problem. There was 2 critiquers, myself and one other. There was an unfortunate death in the family, and Chris couldn't make it, which means you got me as well. But this is also very heavily audience weighted. Now, we have a microphone we're going to pass around. Yep, Eric's got the mic. Be nice to Eric. The reason for the mic is that the people at home, it's not so we could hear you in here. The people at home hear only what comes through the mic. So if you're going on about a picture, they can't hear you at home. And we usually have about 80 to 100 people who are going to be seeing this on YouTube again. So the mic is so that the people at home could hear as well, too. So we're going to go over these. We had a lot of pictures. We're going to go down in alphabetical order by first name. We'll switch it up. We'll take 2 of the 3 pictures and do it that way. If you're in the audience and you have a preference which 2, just let me know. And if we have time, we'll hit the others. What we're going to do, and I've already looked through all the pictures. I've studied them all. And this was, and I like to get an idea. And I have to say, and this fits into the whole thing, is there really is, the hard part of photography is that vision, getting the angle. You'll see these National Geographic photographers, and what they are, they're down on the ground, you know, trying to get a picture of a little animal up. You know, there's really work into how they want this to look. The technical thing, and that's the hard part, and all of these pictures I saw tonight really are good composition-wise, too. That's the good, because that's the hard part. When you get into the technical things, how we could, you know, better do this artistically, or where we had little technical problems too, that's what I want to spend time on tonight as well, because those are easy, those are mechanical things, but the vision, like I said, that is really excellent. So enough talking, we've got a lot of images. Let's get underway with Amy. I'm sorry, Amy, this is all right? Okay, we'll put up the first image there of Amy's. Amy, did you have anything you want to say about this, or no? Or you just want us to comment on it?
I don't know. I don't have too much. This was at a photo shoot. It was kind of paparazzi style, so I had no control of anything. And I just,
Yep.
I saw these hidden moments and I tried to grab it.
Now, did you, my question on this is, did you purposely, is this just the way you got the picture when you shot it?
No, this was an intentional crop.
This was an intentional crop?
It was much wider.
Okay.
I intentionally cropped it that way.
Very interesting. When I looked at this, they always tell you about, the rule in cropping is if you're going to crop like from the head, or if you cut off part of the head, make it look intentional. In other words, not that it was accidental or whatnot, but you very rarely see a crop like this through the face and the body. I really like this a lot, and because you don't see this a lot, and it works in this case. It just is, it's fine. At first I thought, well, should have had more, but you see most of her face and body. I like that she's on the edge like this. And the other interesting thing is I looked a lot, and I don't know everyone's opinion. There's this one little green thing here that at first I thought drew my eye away. But if you put your hand up and look, that too is when I took it out, I found that I actually liked it there. If we were to take that, out, let's see if we can quickly just get that kind of out of there, and then that's fine, and it's a beautiful picture that way, but that just adds a little, fills in the space, so I actually like that.
I knew it was unconventional crop. I knew
Yes.
that little piece, technically, by most people would say remove it. I came to the same conclusions, but I kind of wanted to go, okay, am I nuts, or does somebody else?
I agree. No, that's why I went back and
That's why I
forth
put this
about
one
this.
in, because I'm too chicken to put it in competition
No.
when it comes up until I get other feedback.
Well, and this is the problem, because you'll get some of these, and when you see in the audience, we're going to do some things where half the audience will say, I like it one way, half the other way. A lot of this is taste, so what a particular judge says, is not, but I came to the same conclusion you did. I looked at this and found this very pleasing. I wouldn't do anything differently in this, even though I tried. So no, excellent. That is a good one. And let's,
Actually, if that's not coming up good on the screen, can you actually do the owl instead?
the owl instead. Okay. That is an owl.
Yes, it
Very
is.
interesting.
Her name
again,
is Savannah,
you,
actually.
You made was there any post-processing on this?
Very, very minimal.
Okay.
I barely touched this. I saw
Did you do anything on the eyes?
I like the shadow. That's
You
why I
lightened the
shot
shadow.
it that way, because I thought she had a very mysterious look. I mean, I'm talking, this was literally, I had a spot on the lens that I removed
Yeah.
that was in the image.
Did you
and
lighten the eyes, the area around the eye? No. Okay, that's interesting. Usually animals have eyes that are sunken back in their head, and so you get perfect shots like that, but there'll be a lot of shadow there. So the sun was just right here to get that. And the background is, this is blurred. You shot this at a 200 millimeter about at f5.6. Which is good because that background is, now imagine if that background had been in perfect focus, it would be really distracting. So this is, and I think what makes this really nice is you've got this diagonal just going down there. I played with this to see in this, if we maybe take just a, oops, we don't want to take a tiny bit off the left there as well. In other words, this is a perfect picture, but as I looked, there was just I thought it could use, if I reset to full.
That was the one thing with this image is I've probably done 10 different crops on it.
Right.
And I kind of went with the little pieces.
Yeah.
And the corners kind of are pointing in towards her.
Yes,
And
I see the
liked
corners
the fact
in
that she
here.
had the space.
Yeah.
And so, but I just, again, this was kind of where I'm going, I've
It's a
probably
matter
done
of-
15,
right.
10, 15 different crops.
It's-
And so I was
and
kind
you're
of
right.
going, what did somebody else come up with?
And you'll find, right, you go through a number of crops. Cropping is the hardest thing because it's intentional. But again, it looked like there was just, in this case, the diagonal then took me one corner to the other, straight through, whereas the other, it landed kind of over here. And there might have been an inch more of green that so I kind of like this one. But again, this is a subjective one, but a beautiful shot. There's nothing I would do differently on this, so great work. That's
Thanks.
very good. Okay, that is to Andrew. Andrew here? Andrew, oh, it's, yes. Yes, Andrew.
I mean, the one thing I thought that was interesting, a lot of times you want to see head on, but I thought this was kind of interesting taking it from behind.
Yes.
Just to get something a little bit different.
Now, what's interesting here is this is, when I come in close, you notice it's a bit soft, and the beak is a bit. Now, that could be due to a number of things and whatnot too. But when we look at your settings, this is 1/5 of a second, which is almost impossible. This was not on a tripod, right?
Right.
1/5 of a second, almost impossible to hand hold. That is a really, really short shutter speed. F6.3, 1/5 of a second. So 1/5 of a second, almost certainly, this is due to just the movement of the camera. So I'm not sure whether that was just an accidental setting or just what there, but yep. So this, because I found the image is nice too, but I think it was just the 1/5 of a second that gave the problems. Bring in on the edge of one of the feathers. You mean to see if it's in focus? Yeah. Because you're right, the other question, I think what you're asking about, is sometimes your camera could just focus on the wrong point. In other words, if we had zoomed in on this feather here and found that that was in perfect focus, then this is a case not of camera shake, but that the camera just picked up on the wrong area. So yes, that's what we should look at. But in here, everything was, but I think with a 1/5 of a second, that could explain it. The other thing is, sometimes the camera, straight out of camera, will be a little bit flat. And you see that, it is, and that's just adding a little bit of contrast. And it just kind of makes the colors pop. So that's between that and a little bit more contrast, too. So, no, I like it from the back. But yeah, somehow it's just that the 1/5 of a second was, I think, just an accidental goof up there.
Go to the third one.
The third one, okay, the gull. Now see, that's a 3/20th of a second. So sometimes, and I've had this on mine, just something gets bumped on the camera settings and whatnot. It's not intentional. Because here, this is a 320th of a second. Then everything is fine. Now, was this a big crop? Was this the whole frame, or did you crop down?
I cropped a little bit from the right.
Okay. But it wasn't like tiny in the frame and you
No.
cropped. Okay.
But I thought it was interesting because, again, you can take a picture of a seagull, but I'm looking at the picture and almost hits me as after the storm. So in other words, you're on Lake Erie and things are all disturbed, and then this bird comes along.
Yes, and in that case, the clutter in the background, normally they're talking like we did the other one, where a nice smooth background is key. But in this case, the story is the clutter. It's the after the storm. And I think all that works back there. So in that case, I like that. The feet are a little close to the ground. And that's always, a problem. And I'm just seeing if we could, just what would happen if we give it a tiny bit more and see if this works. If not, our attorney said not to make any promises with AI. AI does what it, there, okay. Now what we've got here, let me bring that in. You see when we go to, Let me go to the history. Okay. There is before, and again, a fine picture, but we have room on the top, but his feet are right up against the bottom. So giving it a little now, and I think that, what do you think?
I like that.
You like that? So that's, yeah. Does a great job. And again, it's no fault of our own. We're working fast. That bird is not going to stay there very long. You get the shot. And so, you just don't have time sometimes. That happens. So now we have a way to just correct for that, because that was our vision. I like it too, the way you cropped it too. It doesn't matter that it's kind of close to this end. Where the bird is looking, you like to have some space there, which you do. So I think this is really nice. So I think good work. It's exposed well, a bright white bird. It's easy to just overexpose that or blow it out, but I could see detail in the feathers, so good work.
Oh, can you announce which tool did you use to reconstitute the lower part of the image?
Which tool to, okay. What I did there is, in Photoshop, you could go to the crop, just the straight crop tool. And normally, if you had it set to crop, it'll just crop normally. But up at the top here, instead of transparent, you move to generative expand. And then anything you do like that, and then when you click it, it knows to fill in that, to use its AI to fill in that area. And then it gives you 3 choices, again, so that you could see what you like. So it really is a 1, 2, 3 thing. So there, then you get that one or that one. You could do it again. So that was just straight there crop tool. So yeah, but it really, again, it expands when you're out there taking pictures, you saw this, Andrew saw this, it was he had the vision like we were talking about. The bird, after the storm, the stuff in back, he got the exposure right, everything is fine, but you have that thing right up against the bottom. Well, we can take care of that. These are just mechanical ways, but the hard part was having the vision for this. So, good work. I think that is good. Okay. Belinda, I see you in the back there. Go to the which? The ospreys? Okay.
Okay, I caught a nice shot of an osprey in flight with a fish in his talons. And in this case, the wing position is not ideal. So I wanted to see if a tight crop like this would work.
And excellent, and it's interesting. I tried the generative fill with this. I mean, it's not magic. And I tried to, and it just does not do it. I mean, there's so much it would have.
But my original photo does include all the wings.
Okay.
This is a tight crop, but again, because it is not an ideal position of the wing, I wanted to see if a tight crop would look better.
I think also the problem here too is it's a bit soft. You could see. Now, and it wasn't due to, this is hard. You have a 2,500th of a second. So that's it. But birds in flight are, they are hard. And your
I'm
other
working on my birds in flight, and yes,
yeah, well, this is
hard.
one of the hard things. With they're moving fast and whatnot, so you've got the speed. But so in this case, just either the tracking or whatnot it was just a matter of focus there as well. Bob, you have a comment there? Wait for the mic.
Belinda, that's a great capture. Could we flip it so?
Flip it horizontal, right to
Yes,
left?
Right.
Sure. Let me see.
Up in,
There we go. Nope. Tools. Go to camera raw, it's in the crops. Flipping is not something I do. There it is. Oh yeah, here it is.
okay. And again, our eyes move from left to right. And again, I think your way was a better way because it's too close to the edge on this one. But it's interesting. That's an excellent shot. I mean, what a capture. What a capture, just terrific. Look at the catch eye, too.
Yep, we got
Nice.
another comment there.
I asked her, she said she sharpened it, but I suspect additional sharpening might be possible.
Well, it might, in a thing like Topaz Sharpen AI or whatnot, which actually uses AI, it redraws actually all the edges too. And yes, that might, bring that back as well. But this is hard. I've not done birds, and I think that's hard. It's like doing an air show. It just is hard to get that, but one could be and one could not be in focus too. But I agree with you, the composition and everything, I think is perfect with it having got the fish. But yeah, I'd give that file to someone, if you don't have Topaz Sharpen AI.
I do have that.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll try sharpening
try-
it at home some more.
Try
and see.
sharpening that and see, but it just is, and it has multiple sharpening modes. Sometimes one works better than the other, but sometimes that can do miracles. But this is just a case where it is hard. Okay.
And then if you go to the
But
other osprey
then
shot.
you've got, yes.
So this is the same bird, and rather than
Ah.
just have him against a blue sky, I thought, why not play with a different background? And I wanted some feedback if you think this background works.
Yes, this is, I mean, Belinda, when I saw, there's a certain, and I wanted to make you feel better. I'm glad you submitted both of these, because if I went out on a bird shoot, and I came back with a bunch of pictures, and one of them was this one here, I wouldn't even worry about the other ones and the crops. This is I mean, it's in focus. I mean, it's in perfect focus. The wings are, I mean, I just, and plus what you did to the background too, but again, I think this is beautiful.
I'm wondering what it would look like in black and white, maybe with a sepia type tint, if that would be better or not.
Wow, it looks, so in black and white, I think that really looks nice there as well. You want to give it a little sepia? Let me back off a little, maybe. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, you could do,
I like that one too.
yeah, black and white I think looks beautiful here. Give it a little more of the blacks
A little
here.
more punch.
Yes, there, I increased the blacks.
Yeah.
It's already up on the whites there. Yeah, you could work on this more, but I think I'd love this in color. I love it in black and white too. I think this is just a beautiful capture, and I wouldn't worry about that first one. That's when I had something like this. So, very, very, very nice. Good work. Okay. Got. Bob. Let Bob explain.
Yes, one night I was down at the lake and the Venusians came in and they were checking out the Coast Guard station and they were taking it. And they were literally moving it offshore. And I wasn't sure where they were taking it. And I continued to take as many photos as I can. Fortunately, their ship could not lift it out of the water.
Did you report this?
I did the best I could.
Okay, that's what I was going to say.
And they locked me up. Intoxication. Well, here again, we all try to focus in on things, and one of the areas that I do very poorly in is creative. So my attempt here is to develop a flair of creativity. And again, that's just my interpretation of our Coast Guard station. And because it is in disarray and it's moving into history, I wanted to give it the view of literally moving offshore and going away. And that was the purpose of my photo.
I looked at this, and this is beautiful. I think a number of decisions you made are great. One, it's this minimalist style. And I've seen a number of photographs like that before, and it really is nice. There's a lot of open space here, and your choice of cropping to make it like a panorama. The long, thin, rectangular crop is just beautiful. You notice this isn't centered either. as well. With the rays coming, it is like an abstract. There's a little, it's not that it's technically, when I zoomed in, some of it is in focus, but it has that little blurry effect that is part of the effect that you're going for. It's this kind of abstract look. And I really liked it. I mean, I would not change anything, in terms of cropping. Your choices there too. So I think you did a good job on this one.
Thank you.
I mean, and I looked. I'm not just saying that because
Right. Because we're friends.
because you're right, exactly. I want to be helpful, but no, I think this was really done well. Unless anyone in the audience disagrees, speak now or forever hold your peace. No, so this is very, very well done. So good work.
Thank you.
Okay, Bonnie, you got your notes there. In fact, were these PSDs? Yes, so let me open this. Okay.
All right, I was flying to Ireland and Scotland last summer with our son and daughter-in-law and 3 kids, 5, 7, and 9. And this was from the plane as we were coming in. I took it with my iPhone out the airplane window. So I didn't know what else I could do to that. I made some adjustments in Camera Raw, and then I used a gradient on the sky, but then I cropped out some of the sky because it didn't do much for me. And I used generative fill on the left and the right side just to give it a more of a panorama effect.
Right, so that was your original like that.
Right.
And and notice how this generative expand, like we did before, it extends the cities a little and whatnot. Those really makes it look natural. But you're right, it gives you a little more of that panorama look.
Right, and I really wanted it less tall, but then I would cut out. I think it needed a little bit of the sky.
I think, again, the
So-
sky showing the horizon is
Right.
good. I tried this with that cut off there, too, and it just didn't have the same look. When you see, one of the things when you do, the landscape photographers know this, but as you go back, the farther away you get, there's more haze in the distance. And you could see no haze up here, starts to get a little hazy, and then we're all hazy back there. And the first thing that people do in post-processing is they go to the dehaze, and they correct that. The problem is one thing you learn in post-processing is some things look unnatural. In other words, you have the ability to take all the shadows away and light everything up and but that's not how the eye sees it. And so surprisingly, if you were to use dehaze and take all the haze off that, it wouldn't really look natural. This is the way we see it. So you have to kind of balance. Yes, you could use a little, but I would try to avoid trying to correct that too, because that's part of the scene and looks so. So I really think this is fine for out a window with a phone. But again, composition is the key. And that's it. You recognize a really good picture. I like the way that this bit of city, this isn't cut off down here. It's just, you have levels. This is in the foreground. You have all of this open field in the middle, and then you get a feeling that there's a distant, you have more city back there. So I think this is a nice capture.
I was just interested in the way they separate the different pastures or whatever. They do that instead of fences. They have the trees, so that's what I liked about that. But I don't know, but the city is right in the middle of the image too. So.
The city being in the middle didn't jump out. Not everything has to be rule of thirds is important. There's a reason for it, but not everything has to be there. And this city isn't dead centered or anything. It's not in the middle or whatnot. It's sitting here a little to the right of off center. And I think, again, the fact that if this was all city all the way back, that might look different. But you have here a sense of foreground, midground, and foreground or background too. So I think this works.
Okay.
So I think this is fine as is. So good work.
All right.
It is okay. bring up your.
I think we were in Dublin walking around, and I like to find different steps and things like that. So I cut off the bottom step on a few pictures. So
It looks like you rotated.
and I did
So
because
this is an angle. It looks like you rotated and then filled in
Right.
with the generative fill. And notice there, this was her original. And when she rotated it, because it was at an angle, you get empty pixels here. That's just part of rotating it, too. So how to fill those in? And again, the AI does a good job in creating that, again, so you don't have that dead area. Because if you rotate and you try to crop, like in the old days, well, cropping, you'd have to come up so much, you'd be too close to the railing. So this generative fill or AI being able to fill that in helps.
And then I wanted the greenery a little greener, so I used the brush in Camera Raw
Mm-hmm.
and tried to get the green a little greener because it was pretty light green. So I just wanted to bring that out.
No, that's fine. You'll find a lot of times that when you look at something like this, you'll remember when you looked at it, the greens looked greener than you saw. So in a sense, you're using post-processing to bring things back to the way that you saw it, not do something artificial. Again, a lot of post-processing is to bring it back to the way it looked to you, because the camera has the limitations. But what I liked in this is from this bottom step, this kind of spiral right around through the picture. Comes up, leads your eyes up, straight, and then to the left there too, which is really nice. So
I tried it in black and white, but I liked it better in color.
be kind of busy in black and white.
Right.
I think that this is, I like this like this. It's well exposed and everything. And again, it gets back to when I looked at all of these, the vision is there. You saw this and knew that this looked like an interesting or a good picture compositionally. And the other stuff that you did and we're doing here is just to bring it back to that vision, not anything. And the hard part is recognizing, because we're all walking down these streets, and to recognize that, oh, that looks photographically interesting, that's the hard part that's really hard to teach. The rest is mechanics. So I think good work.
Okay,
Good work.
thank you.
I wouldn't change anything else on this. So, good, okay. Let's look now. Okay, we did Bonnie. Brian, is Brian here? Okay. This is Brian's first picture. And again, beautiful capture of the butterfly or the moth or the bird. Anyone have anything jump out at you on this picture? Yes, gotta shout it out and I'll repeat it. Okay, top to the antenna. Well, is that what you were going to say, Belinda? Background seems a little light. Okay, I'm going home.
I was going to say the same thing about the background. The
Oh, you guys
background's
don't
a little
need
bright.
it. Okay. Background. Now again, this is only, let's say you spot meter on this. Here's the limitation of the camera. This is a perfectly exposed butterfly. Perfect. But to perfectly expose this, the background gets overexposed. So the camera did everything perfectly. So this is not a camera mistake. So the question is, how could you bring it then to what you saw? So there are several things. One is, you're right. Compositionally, this goes a little off the top. Now, we could expand that, but the other thing that you could do on that is to actually just, and I will, let's see, content aware, heal, let's see if this, is in a simple way, and there are other easier ways to do that too, is you could just take one off, and that gives you your same thing. So there are several ways to do that. The other thing that I looked at, and again, this is minor points on this, is it's on the tree, but there's a little more of the tree. You know, could we get by with any less of the tree? And so I tried just taking a little of the tree, so it gives us our story. Still, it throws it off a little. And then, as Belinda brought up too, let's see if we could bring just the background down a little. In fact, let me see if I could do an AI trick with this. Let's see how well it'll select the subject. Okay, and then what we'll do is we'll invert that. And so we just have the background now, and we'll darken that a little. There. Now let's take that mask again. Let's select the butterfly. Select subject. There too. And let's just I think it's perfect as is. I was just going to lighten it a little. Yeah, but we brought that background down, and now we could bring it. And now the butterfly kind of jumps out. Is the what? More like that. We have a comment over there on the side. You got it? Yeah. Wait. So the people at home could.
One thing that stands out at me, when the guy who did the presentation last week on birds, if you looked at his background, everything was like totally blurred out.
Yes.
So I'm looking at that, there's a lot of stuff going on with the butterfly, and I agree, it's very, very good. I'm just wondering if you just like totally blur out the background, so where it doesn't fight with the
Totally
butterfly.
blur the background?
Yeah.
Well, one, the background is kind of blurred. Let's see what we could do. They do have the feature here for certain ones, the new AI feature called Lens Blur, where you could blur the background, depth of field. Let's see. Visualize depth. Okay, so it's recognizing that. Okay, I'm going to increase the blur amount of the background, and let's see what this does. I mean, something like that?
I would do more, because the
That's the
presentation,
limit.
to where to almost make the background look solid, but I don't know if you can do that.
Well, you can. That's a lot harder. What you're doing is, I think this is almost like a pattern in the background.
Right.
If you wanted to, you would mask this out and just put an artificial background in it. You would substitute a background like a lot of the flower photographers do.
And the only reason I'm saying that, based on the presentation last week, you've looked at a lot of his backgrounds, look at his website, a lot of his backgrounds are totally blurred out.
Yes, you can get that effect with a small depth of field, wide lens opening. We don't have any, I'm not sure what this was done with, but we don't have any metadata on this too. But I think, again, it's when it's in sharp focus. So this is a little busy, but once we've toned it down, and with this depth of field being blurred, and this is so dramatic, I don't think it really, takes away from that. But if you wanted more in the back, you could work on this more and, do a blur layer and really blur that out. That would be more work. So yeah, it just depends on taste, just how you like these. But I think if this had been in perfect focus in the background, that would have been too busy. But I think what we did here, this was a nice shot to begin with. We've taken the antenna thing down. We've took a little bit of the tree off there too. We've brought down the background so it wasn't as white. And I think all of those things, there it is before, there afterwards. And you could, in between, subtly adjust these too. But I think those are all good comments. Yeah, we have a question over there.
The color balance, the white balance looks a little reddish to me.
The white balance looks a little reddish, okay. Lightening up.
I think it's a projector, never mind.
On the side it looks okay? Yeah, the side monitors are calibrated. The projector is going to be off. So I think the things we did with this are, again, it was recognized as a great shot, and all we did were little compositional things, darkened the background a little, took off that little bit of the antenna, closed up on the tree a little, and I think that really improves it. But again, great shot, and I think great exposure of the butterfly. Okay. Let's see. Which one of these did I kind of didn't know what to, look, this isn't like a creative thing. This is not, I looked for seams here. This is not stitched together. There are different people there. I think this is the way the car is. An interesting one. It tells a story, too. Compositionally, I think it's fine. The fact that it's in the middle, this works for this. It's a little bit, when we do black and white, you'll notice up here on the histogram, we have areas up on the right here that are all the way up towards the white end. So we have bright whites. But you'll notice we don't have any dark darks. There's this gap here on the left side of the histogram where there's no dark. And we look in the picture, and there aren't any real blacks, too. And that tends to make the picture look a little flat. So if we just increase our blacks a little, not the whites, so we're up against there, too. And now we look, you see now when we look there, we could see it's just a little flat there. There's a little better there as well. So I think, again, this is, you've got the people. This is one of those that tells a story. There was nothing I would remove or crop. You just have people sitting out on a summer day. So yeah, I wouldn't change anything on this. An interesting just street shot. But I would like to know the story behind the car. And I also want to know which side you put the plates on. And that's the other of this. So that is Brian's. Christina. Christina here? Oh, she's here. Okay. Oh, you're there, Christina. Okay. Very interesting shot. Very, very interesting shot. This is not in Cleveland?
No, it's in Knoxville, at the Knoxville Zoo, Knoxville, Tennessee.
This is interesting. I love this, the alligator or crocodile, whatever this is, the reflection down here. The fact that it's in a darkened area, that's something you have no control over. You can't, hey, flip on the lights. Was this nighttime like?
It was.
Or darkened
inside,
enclosure?
But like
yes.
The lighting was minimal. You know what I mean?
Right.
Kind of make it swampy.
So the lighting is hard. You're doing everything you can. So the exposure's right. It's just that the alligator is dark and the background is dark. So it's hard to separate them out. But when you look at the time you're taking the picture, what could you do differently? There's nothing you could do. I mean, that's just the situation you have. When we look at this again, when I looked at this, one thing when I looked at the histogram is, one, we see everything on the dark side, nothing on the light side, but that's fine. It's a picture in the dark. But you'll notice this little gap here at the end of the histogram. There's no really blacks. And before I even look at the histogram, when I look at this, it just looks that tiny bit flat. And cameras will do that straight out of the camera sometimes. So if I give it a little bit more black, just a tiny bit, and you could see there, I don't know, on the side monitors it shows, I don't know how well it shows on the front, but now you could see that looks a little bit flat, that looks more realistic. You look at the yellows in the jaw, when you bring up the contrast, bring out the blacks, that's a little better. And I was trying to decide how else we could make the alligator stand out. And one thing I played with is, suppose we just crop a little bit from the left, because there's nothing really going on here. And will that bring our attention a little more in? So I think this is a hard one, but I think between adjusting the contrast it's fine. And cropping that little bit off the left, so now this whole thing is in the center here, really makes it stand out. And I wouldn't do anything. It's not that you could select this out and lighten the background. I mean, it was dark in the background. It would look funny otherwise, and it's really not doable. So I think this is great. A difficult shot, but great. So I think just, again, cameras will tend to make things a little flat. And sometimes that little adjustment, you know, now you see it, and we go back and forth. Sometimes it's not evident at first, but difficult, and I commend you for seeing the shot again. I'd love that reflection of that. So, good work. Let's flip now. We will do that one. Actually, let's do that one. This is beautiful. Where was this one?
That's at Lakeview Cemetery.
At Lakeview, okay.
Yeah, and just when you're like, I guess I put those two in so that when you're photographing statues and stuff, just general ideas for like, you know, your
General ideas, okay. when you're-
amateur photographer, like what are you considering
Right.
when you photograph them?
Well, it's hard. Time of day is important. Sometimes you have no control over that. When you get a lot of sunlight, when it's midday, you get this where it's perfectly exposed, the back, all of this area around there, but as the sun glints off these areas, it's kind of blown out there. And if we turn that on, you can see that's blown out. So, but that's easy to correct. If I come down just on the highlights, notice now, I've taken those bright white areas, and now it's normally exposed. So that's number one. Number two is on this, again, a little more contrast, because everything here is the same tone. So to make them stand out a little more, I'm going to increase the blacks a little, and sometimes that helps in the shadows. So that little change there is we see a little more of the shadows. And then sometimes what helps, and you can go back and forth on these, but with granite and these kind of things too, the camera is sometimes not that good in bringing out texture. And if we accentuate the texture, especially in statues, and here I'll exaggerate it, I'll come up then, and if we look at the statue itself, we tend to, if I bring up the, and you could see on the back, like over here, we could see detail in the structure now, whereas that's a little more flat as well. So it is hard when you have something almost monochromatic like this. The statue is almost the same as the back. But by increasing our blacks, we could bring out this shadow a little more, which gives us some depth. And I think your composition was excellent. I mean, I wouldn't change. I'm not bothered by the fact that it's cropped there. I don't think this is too tight a crop. You know, I actually like this, so this is good. So what we did, in a sense, is we brought down the highlights, we increased the blacks a little, and increased the texture. And so does that seem to help a little?
Yes, thank you.
Yep, so those are little tricks, but sometimes it's hard because of just time of day. And like if you take a picture of a car, you'll get these little areas where the sun just reflects off, which is bright white, and there's nothing you could do about that. But we took a lot of the areas down from the shoulder and whatnot and made those normal too.
I actually have one comment on the crop.
Yes.
The left side, if you print this and mat it, you're going to be awfully close to cutting off those knuckles. So maybe like 1/4 of an inch just on the left side.
Oh, can do, Eric. This is on the left side?
Yeah. Just so that when you print it, you're not cutting off the knuckles.
Right, because when you print it and then you mat it, you usually use 1/4 inch. And that'll, right, because the mat goes over that, and Eric's right, that would then cover up the knuckles.
Yeah. And this is simple. You didn't even need to probably use the generative AI. You could have used just clone fill and clone the texture. So
Yep.
So if you're against AI,
Right, if you have some religious thing against AI, you could do this with cloning and whatnot. Cloning is considered more, right, so I agree there. You could expand your canvas to white and then use the clone tool to do that, and then you'll feel much better. We have Bob in the back has a comment.
Richard, on blown out spots, like you
Yes.
had on a shoulder, have you ever explored adding grain to those areas?
Grain to those areas, let's go
Yes.
back to,
Because when you add some grain, it does give it a little texture. And on a
Okay.
picture like that, it might even add a little bit more to it. So you
up
have to
in the-
use a brush. You have to, you have to go up and use a mask.
To use it, the thing in this area, though, see, that is, you'd be actually creating something. This is still, there's nothing there.
Right.
So either you could, and when I accomplished this on skill, I don't know what grain would do.
Right.
What I found, though, is and let's just try that. Now, it's not going to work well on this, but we found experimentally this works if you have on someone's forehead, if they're out in the sun and they have a bright white patch on their
Right.
forehead or cheeks, it's very hard to recreate skin and whatnot. But what we found is, and let's see what we do here. And for years, we've had trouble with those blown out areas on people's face. And I'll just take a section here.
Are you going to use AI?
Yeah, what
Oh my
I
gosh.
do is the generative fill
Yes.
to just see
The secret
what it
weapon.
does. Because generative fill is actually good in redrawing, actually
Right.
recreating
Right.
that too. So again, on spots
There it
on the
is.
forehead or nose, it'll do fine. We're taking a picture here,
Oh, look at that.
and you could see
Oh,
it's come
this is
close
gorgeous.
there. And I just did a rough schedule around, but you're actually rebuilding there, and and then also in addition, when you come back to normal view there, so where you're not pixel peeping, you look at that arm, and there. And the thing is, the advantage is you've also you've recreated the texture and everything else too. So, yeah, we found that to be actually quite, and even if you go down, you can't even tell. So it's quite useful, again, for this. So, praise the, that is the, and actually the way AI works, which is different, content-aware fill worked by using an algorithm to look around the picture and kind of predict what should be fitting in there based on the rest of the picture. Generative fill doesn't work like that. It works on a large language model. It trains. So in other words, if you take a 57 Chevy and you cut off the front third from the windshield on up and tell it, because a person is standing there and you want to take that person out, and you take them from the window on up, it doesn't say what should go there. It's been trained. It looks at the back of the car and knows from a million car pictures that that's a 57 Chevy. And so from its library, it knows what the front of a 57 Chevy should be and does that. So in these cases, it's not predicting, it's not kind of thinking from the rest of the picture. It's actually going to a fund. It's seen a million statues and a million kind of granite things too, and it's just taking from there, and that's why it could be more accurate too. So it's a tool like anything else. But as I said when I started, the thing on this is what makes this hard is the recognizing this, and the cropping this to make this image. All these skills do nothing if someone is working on a snapshot. I mean, that's just it. So this stuff is as impressive as the stuff I'm doing up here seems. The hard work was really recognizing these and capturing the picture, too. If that was in black and white, let's see. Let me go up to the black and white layer. I think this is it. And let me just give it a little more contrast. And with a lot of these, I do experiment in black and white. And again, it becomes a preference. Some might find this looks better in black and white, some in color. Some think they both look good too. So, it's always good to try. It's easy enough to do. But really, Christina, these are great captures. So I think this is good. And we learned a lot from these. Okay. Let's see. Okay, we did Christina. Dave Burns. Where have I? It's the same owl. I know it. Okay, is Dave here? Okay. Well, this is interesting, but it shows you again, and this is fine, but you see owls, and this is, you could have the perfect exposure, and the owl is perfectly exposed here as well, but the eyes tend to get a little sunken. What I'm going to do here is, let me bring down the back, those whites there, and let me, on the owl, in fact, on the owl, I'll bring down the highlights in the back there. But let's take that owl now. There we go. We'll select out the owl and see if we can give him a little more contrast. Now, look at the difference between that and that. Again, the camera is exposed correctly, but we're able to enhance that. We brought the background down a little. Let's see, we brought the whites up. Yeah, the background down a little. Highlights, yes. Okay, so if we look now between there and there. So again, great capture. This really is. And the camera is doing its job. The exposure is correct. But all we've done is just tone down the background a little so we get rid of some of those whites and just brought up the owl a little, gave it a little more white in those feathers. And now that, what do you think? Mic over, Eric, the mic in the back there.
How about a local adjustment brush and bring up the exposure a little bit on the eyes?
Okay. Because of again, those eyes being a little bit sunken. So let's then select out, let's take a brush, and with this, first let's try to bring up the shadows a little. And we'll just kind of brush this area. We'll work on this then. And we'll try this a little more, then we'll go back and forth to see. Let me give it a little white here. Now to see that, and Gary's suggestion was there, you see that? And you could play with that. But again, the eyes tend, and you're right, the eyes are almost in shadow here, not that much. But you could bring that out and balance that a little bit more. You could work on that. Just a little exposure, you could work on that left one a little more. And again, we're just working more rapidly on this. You could play around more of these at home to be more precise. But you'll find that, you're right, the eyes, the camera's done everything right here. The eyes are set back, so they're a little sunken. We've kind of brightened the feathers, toned down the back, and we get something like that. Yeah. Yes.
When you were putting the mask on the eye,
Yes.
I thought you said that you moved one of the sliders and then brushed it on. Because
Yes.
when I do that, I do the mask and then do the sliders. So what?
Oh.
Could you do that step
okay,
again?
your point was if I create a new mask here with a brush, right,
Yeah.
I could actually, if I wanted to tone down something, I could draw on it and then do my adjustments.
Yes.
But for certain things that I'm going to be obvious, I said, well, let me just start somewhere and do that. and I'll do that and then come on. You know, that's actually just a difference in where I'll do it sometimes one way, sometimes the other way. It absolutely makes no difference.
Okay, thanks.
Whether you, zero difference, just a technique thing. But I don't know, what do people think? I mean, is this something that is, let me take the owl, we'll do you one more thing before you give me your, we'll take the owl, let me just bring the exposure up on the owl a little. Okay, what do people think? I mean, do you like it before, after? Neither, and again, it could be variations of this. You might say, you know, I wouldn't do it as much this way, but at least this gives you the tools, and you will do this to what you think looks good. But here's our before. Again, good capture. You're in a diagonal and everything else like this.
Hey, Richard,
Yes.
that little stick on the bottom,
Yes, I was going to
It's
say
driving
that
me
also
nuts.
just, see, we all think alike there as well. And this, what Amy was talking about is this little thing down here. Actually, when I worked on this at home, I took that out. Yes. And when you notice it, now, it's just something that doesn't fit, you know, it just kind of sticks up there like that. And that's out of there. And good pickup. I forgot about that. So these are all little things you could do, but again, the camera is not making a mistake. And the hard part was getting this picture, getting close enough to this owl, getting it. The owl is not looking at you, it's looking off. There's a beautiful diagonal here. The background is blurred even though we're at f8. I think all of that is the hard part. That is, so the person did a lot of work, had a great eye, took the picture. Again, the third leg, though, is just this little post-processing. But I think the heavy lifting is in the recognition. Now, I'm not just saying that. So, good work there. Okay. Oh, nice. Okay, this is a nice light and a very common problem when you're middle of the day. When you have everything, the camera has exposed everything perfectly, but the lighthouse is so bright. I mean, the sun is hitting directly on painted white that there's, you know, nothing you could do with your camera settings. So here's a case where we could go in a little to just bring down the highlights just on just so that they're not bright white, they have some texture in them. So again, I'm just working more rapidly there. You could also then, on the sides of these cliffs too, because this is bright daylight. So let's bring down some of the highlights on the side of these cliffs so they're not just jumping out as well. And the sky, you have no control of the sky. There are some clouds there, but midday, it's hard sometimes. So one way you could experiment with the clouds are to actually just, in the saturation, let's see if we just make the blues a little more, the luminance. Oops. Bring it up there. So what we've got now is, again, camera has done its job fine, but it's midday. So we've just brought down a little of tones there. We've brought a little of the sheen off the lighthouse. We've kind of brought out the clouds a little. You notice there's a artifact there. I think that's banding. Banding is when you don't have enough pixels. If it's like an 8-bit image or something where there's not a lot of color information, and then that starts to become evident when you really do a lot of editing. There's one other thing here, and that we should all be on the lookout for. And that is, what is it? Oh, wait, people were yelling things out. I didn't hear it. The mermaid. I am not going to add a mermaid to this. That is our attorney said to stay away from that. No. The thing is again, here's a case where if you don't post-process, you have no control over this, is your sensor dust spots. Look up here. See the spot? And here's the other spot right here, right above the lighthouse is another one. Sensor dust there. And once someone points it out, that's all you see. It's a shame to print this up and have that spot there, but you just click over it in Photoshop on the sensor dust and they're gone. They disappeared too. So that's enough for sensor dust. But great capture. I mean, this is a beautiful shot. Kind of this big triangle, everything leading down there. So sometimes if the tour was stopping midday, yeah, this would have been nice in the evening or the golden hour. But this is all you got. So basically, it is hard sometimes. But one reason to shoot in RAW, if this wasn't in RAW, is because you avoid that banding issue when you edit. Okay, nice picture, very nicely done. Okay, that was Dave Burns. Dave Korosek. Dave here? Good, we can have fun then. No, Dave, I'm only kidding you. You know that. Okay, nice picture of the windmill. Nice, get some movement in the water and everything too. There's just a little problem. You notice we don't have perfect focus anywhere. So it's not that we're focusing on something different. Whoops. Nothing is really in focus, or just a little bit out of focus. Now, why is that? Well, we look up, we're at a 30th of a second. 30th of a second is, you should be able to handhold. It's a 14 millimeter
Richard,
lens.
I can pretty much guarantee you he was on a tripod.
What?
I can pretty much guarantee you he was on a tripod. He likes his.
What, you think he was on a tripod?
Yeah.
Okay, well that's interesting then, because that was going to be my point. If you were going to be on a tripod, I don't know how this would be blurred. The only way it could be blurred if it was on a tripod is if you bump the camera during the time taking the picture, or it was focused on a different area. And that, yeah, we have a bunch of hands. Yes.
Sometimes if you don't turn VR off on the camera, it could cause that.
You
when
know
it's on the
something?
tripod.
That is a very debatable. I've read, I know what Nikon says. I've read probably hundreds of articles. I've asked a ton of people. You won't find any agreement. Only because I have never on a tripod turned my VR off and never had a problem. By the way, I don't turn it off because I forget. That's not on the purpose. So, I don't, you're right. That is a thing, but I've never seen it actually happen.
I don't either, but it depends on the camera and it depends on the lens. Some of the older lenses, I guess, will do it.
Yeah, but I've never, I know
just
that
throw
said.
it out there. I don't know.
It's been back and forth. But here's a case where if this was on a tripod, and I'd really like to know, if it was on a tripod, there are very few ways this could be out of focus. Like I said, other than if you were manually pushing it too. So I don't. So yeah, but that is something. So if he's using a tripod, then I'm not sure. I'd really like to talk to find out what's behind this, because I don't have any explanation other than a focus being. If it focuses somewhere else. But I went over this picture and don't find any area of focus. There's just, I just can't think of anything else. Was there any other question? Yeah, Mick, you had okay, what's? The metadata, I've up here, let me pull more metadata, because I have f11 a 30th, 14 millimeter lens, ISO 64, but let's then go back and see if there's any more metadata.
Hey, Richard, I just got a text from Dave. Could the fact that his tripod was in the water cause the shake?
Here, here's the metadata it's the same metadata we have. Could the fact that his tripod, let me go back to open with.
Yeah, so that would probably explain the shake if his
Now, if it was in the
tripod was
water, I to tell you the truth, moving tripod, I've seen that when you're doing a 3, 4, 10-second exposure this time. A 30th of a second is just, and if it was on something vibrating, or if it was on a boat, but this water doesn't, it's not like one of these rapids things too. This just doesn't look like it's going that and off to the side where he would be, it's like a pool almost. So I would tend to think that's probably not it. So I don't really have an answer to this one, but it's yeah. That's and, you know, if it happened, by the way, if he took another picture, you know, if his other pictures are fine and never happened, then it's just a one-time thing where the tripod moved. Or the rocks, right, if something moved in that 30th of a second. So the only thing I can think of in this is something moved if you're on a tripod. But otherwise, the composition is perfect. You know, you're from down low. You've got the water looking up there. So everything is perfectly exposed. I think it's fine. And using f11 on a 14 millimeter lens would probably have gotten everything in focus too. So I'm not sure the problem here as well. So earthquake, but then we get this interesting picture. This is really a beautiful picture. I mean, I think this is stunning. Again, it's 3.5, a 200th of a second, but again, using this is at 11/16, and this is at 11 millimeters, so ultra wide angle lens, but cropped down because you don't see the distortion and whatnot, that effect of it. So very well done in terms of spacing it right, so that you can crop off those parts that are distorted parts. So everything here, or whether he corrected it, is just perfect. But this has perfect symmetry. I thought I was so smart because I found they made a mistake, had tracks on one side and track on the other, until I realized I was mistaken, because there's only one track here, 29, and this is 27 and 28. So I couldn't even find, but I actually think this is, you look at white balance, it's got a little that orange effect for some tungsten light, but it works beautifully here. In fact, if you take this and you say, let's correct that white balance. And here's a case where this is probably more what the correct white balance is, but I would say I artistically like it that way. So, you know, you could correct for white balance and, you know, and see and whatnot. In fact, if we correct and see what the actual white balance is by putting the eyedropper over the white thing, that's the correct white balance. So that is everything as it should look. The whites are whites, the colors are colors. However, artistically, remember, this is art. If you say, you know, I like that look, which I do, then that's up to you. Bob.
You see those little round spots right on the edges, way down at the bottom? That spot and the other one on the other side. If you took those out.
Yeah, we could, whatever they were, they are like bumpers or something on the wall.
Right.
And they didn't bother me that much because they were symmetric too. But we could easily take those out.
There.
As well.
See,
but
now see that there's the line is just perfect.
Yeah. You know, the symmetry here and the geometry is just beautiful. It's like architectural photography. And the cropping, gorgeous. The way everything is cropped is, I actually really like this picture. But this is a good one also because it shows you that white balance thing. If you look at what the correct white balance is, this is a technically correct picture. But that doesn't mean it's artistically good. Artistically good is what you like. And if you like this better, and I really like the way that looks, then that's up to you. You could do it the way you want it, too. So, yeah. Amy's got a question. Yeah.
If he didn't want to remove the bumpers, if he had any more room on the right side because it was just slightly off of being perfectly symmetrical, that would be the other option. But my other suggestion is just possibly underneath the track 29 where the black is in the center, possibly just taking down the highlights, just because it is colorful on the right side and not on the left on the blacks.
On which
Right
here?
in the center. In the center console, yeah.
The center console here. Oh, you mean
Right
toning,
there.
toning
Yeah, just
that
because
down.
everything is so symmetrical on the image.
Okay.
That's the only thing that's not symmetrical, so not eliminating it because it might look weird, but just taking down.
Let's see if
the
we could
highlights
just
on it
if we could just
possibly.
take down the highlights. Actually, there aren't many highlights there, so that is difficult to do. Oops, we could. Yeah. You'd have to work on that a while. You're right. One of the things you could do is you could take saturation down. In fact, with this, let me take the saturation, completely desaturate that. Oh, it's already. Yeah, that makes it look gray then. Yeah, you'd have to work on that a lot. But I see your point. That would be one. Yeah, over there on the side.
Just real quick, how did you get rid of those two little black dots without going to Photoshop? And
Oh, the
going to-
healing brush. The healing brush there, I just click on healing brush, and that gives me
Oh, that's.
a little brush that if I move it over something, it analyzes that area and takes an area from next to it to correct it. So, beautiful, beautiful shot. Okay. Dave Carr. Elaine. Elaine here? Okay.
Yes.
Very nice capture.
I was sitting on a cruise ship, sitting on my balcony,
Okay.
and all these birds are flying around. He was looking right at me. If you zoom on his face, he's like looking right at me.
He is looking right at you.
I know.
And this is a really nice picture. One of the things I do, and again, you did everything perfect on this, 1,000th of a second and whatnot. Notice his face is kind of really white where it's blown out.
Okay.
So one of the things you could do easily on that, and that's because it is so bright,
It's amazing.
is just there. You bring the highlights down just over the, so there it is before, and there it is more natural. The other thing on this is, as I looked, because I really like this, the way it's cropped, but there's a little more on top than there is on the bottom. And what I was seeing is, what if we put the bird right in the middle there? I don't know, what do you know? Yeah, I mean, it's, before, it's not, like I said, this is the hardest thing, is deciding where to crop. But on this, you have a lot of space there up here that nothing is going on.
Yeah.
And so, that would be one way to do it. Well, but rule of thirds, right, rule of thirds, right now it's in the rule of thirds, but that doesn't always, it's not always pleasing. Certain things work well in the center. And with rule of thirds, if there was something else here, but it just seemed, it depends what you like. There was another comment back there?
I'm going to give you a chance to use generative AI again.
Uh-oh. In what way?
I think it's nice if a bird is flying to be in the upper third of the frame. So
You
it looks
think
like
if-
so it looks like it's up high rather than in the middle or down low.
So what you're saying is to actually, oh, you're killing me. So what you want to do is make the bird top. So here is that thing. We would then just draw down the bottom a little, something like that. A little more. The computer's smoking here. It's smoke coming out of the Broadview Heights. The lights have dimmed. We're using all the, they think we're mining Bitcoin here or something. Okay, there you go, for you. The bird is now in the top. And you're right, that's interesting. That is actually, it was a little unnatural, the bird in the bottom, but the bird on top does look, I didn't think of that, too. So, yeah, that's another thing. We've used the A, we just gave it a little on the bottom. We took off the top, gave it on the bottom, and yeah, I actually like that better than the one I did. Very good idea. Okay, good work. That is, okay, I want to get through all of these.
That is Patagonia.
This is Patagonia. Oh, this
Yeah.
is. Wait.
I just
This is
didn't even wanna come
Patagonia?
home. Yeah, this is Patagonia.
Okay, beautiful,
I loved it.
beautiful, beautiful exposure. It's nice on a diagonal. Love the mountains in the background.
I do too.
I really love this.
I do too. Thank you.
Does anyone have anything to say?
I just didn't want to come home.
Uh-oh.
Um,
Okay.
I think
I'm waiting,
it's
I'm
cut
waiting.
off a little bit on the right.
Ah, thank you, Eric. What is the, go ahead, Eric. What were you going to say?
Maybe just a little generative fill on the right.
We
so
don't
that
have
the-
to because we've
or-
done that already. And you're right. Eric is right. The tree. This is this is the most beautiful picture I've seen. But the tree is right up against the edge, and that just jumps out at you. Let me go down there too. There it is with the general. I did that. I pre-did that. There it is with the. You notice how where it's taken, it's recreated the end of the branch, it's recreated the mountains, the clouds, and everything. And now you have the full tree. And because a lot of people, like I said to Eric, you know, it's just the tree is kind of going off the edge. You know, you can't do it. You got this tremendous picture that's not your fault at the time. I mean, this tree is moving fast. You got to shoot. You got to shoot. But again, so here's a case where this is absolutely stunning, too. So I think this is beautiful. And yes, that's the a little generative AI on the right side that recreated the end of the tree. So good, but absolutely stunning picture. No, no. It's AI. It's all the mechanics there. That's very good. Okay, I want to get through all of these. Let's see. Eric's, we got yours. This is,
So this is the Sandhill Crane Colt from last year, so it's about a year old. I was at Sandy Ridge, and there was some of us photographing it on the ground, and next thing I know, it's flying by, like directly overhead, and a little bit of editing was done, mainly to straighten it out, so that the bird was at an angle instead of straight, because I had the bird straight, but the trees looked funky. So,
see, that it's interesting because, and this is a good thing, Eric, because we're here to learn tonight and everything, Eric was telling us the things he did. Like originally he was doing this, he did this with the bird, angled it a little different. I don't know anything about that. I didn't know what he did or anything. I just opened this picture. And I opened this picture and see this is phenomenal. This is a beautiful picture. So, you know, and the fact that, yeah, I don't need to know that he did if I was just observing this picture. So, you know, you shouldn't feel bad about doing these because in the end, it's to make the beautiful picture. This is just the wings, the angle. It's making this perfect diagonal right across. Yeah, Gary.
Eric, there's a dark diagonal band in the sky. Is that natural, or did you do something? Okay.
Yeah, you mean over here, like?
yeah, the diagonal line is...
That's, yeah.
I
it looks
didn't
like-
cause it, but I did do some generative AI to expand it, but it was
Yeah.
there. It was slightly cloudy.
It's your vision. It's just that the software is just helping you get to your vision. Yeah.
Just beautiful exposure on those wings. It's just
Yep.
gorgeous the way they turned out.
Yeah. This is
What were you shooting?
he's a 1250th of a second, 7.1, 254 millimeter lens, ISO 200.
Okay. What was it? 100 to 500?
100 to 500. Yeah.
Yeah, great shot.
Eric, this is absolutely stunning. We are going to see this in the nature competition, I am sure.
Not
That
nature,
is-
there was some AI to expand it, so I don't think I can technically put it in nature, but it will be
It
in a
is.
competition.
I think according to our rules, you can.
Okay.
Nowadays, yes, that has all been changed, so it is absolutely just, and I want to go to, this one on you?
So this
This
was
is-
Marblehead Lighthouse on Saturday, well, I guess it was Sunday morning. I was chasing the Northern Lights, and they did not show up, but the sky was cleared up, and the lighthouse was pretty, so.
Is that red at the bottom, is that part of the Northern Lights, or is that just?
I think that's light pollution from probably Cleveland.
Yeah, you can get the light pollution, it was just the reddish thing of
Yeah,
it,
it's
too.
light pollution from
Yeah.
whatever city is in that direction.
This is just, now, did you tell, this is a very, very difficult exposure. This is just so well done. This is a 10-second exposure as well, with an 11 millimeter, lens at 11 millimeter, ISO 1250. Did you then, how did you treat the windows? Did you darken them? Because they must have been really,
No, that I didn't do any
Really?
darkening.
At 11
I
at
did
10
some
seconds?
lightening around the
yeah.
window in the door frame, but I didn't darken anything.
This is just stunning. I mean, it just, real. I wanted to show this one because this was really, really well done. This is technically hard to do. Like I said, this is a 10-second exposure.
There was a lot of shots trying to get that.
And well, that's just it. You just try it a lot. And again, we get down to correcting things. When you talk about, oh, well, there's distortion. You're looking up at the lighthouse, and so it's going back. How do I correct? Well, it works in this case. That's part of, it just gives you that effect of this larger than life, lighthouse too. So not everything has to be corrected too. I really like this. You like the fact, what, Gary, that you've got?
I like the fact that he's got the light at the bottom edge of the door in the frame.
Yes.
Just barely in the frame.
Right
yeah.
down.
Yeah.
Yep, these are stunning. Eric, this is very, very well done. You're making
Thank
my
you.
job hard. This is good. Very, very nice. Okay, Gary. We got okay, the crusty old man. Black and white, this works in black and white. I looked at this, the exposure is well done. I thought of bringing up the shadows in his eyes just a little. Let's see. There, so we just brought it up a little. It's hard. I think this is kind of nice as is. I like the eyes are in focus. The crop is good. We've got him in here. I really wouldn't do anything different overall. Does anyone have any suggestions? Or I think there's just a nice street scene and just a street capture. So no, this is good all around. Okay. Interesting area. Now, on this, we don't have any data, photo data. This is one, the first thing, now again, depends if you were going for this, but it just seems a bit oversaturated. And this is where you could overdo it in Photoshop. I mean, the sky just looks, really intensely aqua here as well. And it just kind of doesn't look as natural as it should. I wonder if it was a little more blue. And maybe, again, because skies tend to be more blue. And let me try that. Let me take the hue up here. Oh, that's more aqua. No, nothing really changes it. Let me try bringing, Is there an auto? Auto to what? Auto for the whole picture? Well, you can't, there is no auto for hue because hue is, so you're not correcting anything, you're actually changing the color. So there's no auto because it's just you decide what you want to change it to. But I'm going to come down on the saturation and see just overall on the, in fact, let me come on the, just the blue saturation and take down, because the sky just looks, I'll put it on the sky, I'll put our targeted adjustment tool on there, and just bring it down a little. Let me put some, a little more darker in the mountains here. It's hard because, let me try the overall saturation. It's just the grass and the, it's a beautiful picture. I just struggle with that sky a little there. That's the other. The other thing, I'm looking compositionally. I mean, again, a beautiful capture. These clouds or fog are on the ground. If I had to crop a little bit, you notice the mountains fill up the whole thing, but on the right here, we start on the mountains, and if I bring that in, the main peaks are more in the middle, and we've got a peak on each side. So I think cropping-wise, that helps. And originally, and you would bring some down from the top, a little less sky, okay. And a little what? Less of the grass? Something like that? Let's see how that looks so far. Okay, but I think you're right. We have the effect of the clouds, and the action is really with this fog on the ground and these clouds here. Kind of above that, you're right, we could have done without that. So I think that crop helps. And then I would probably go in, if I was spending time in this picture, and make the mountains kind of stand out a little bit more. They look like they could just have a little bit more contrast in them. And that would be, you'd have to play with that. And again, you do it more carefully at home. I'm doing the brush just to give it a little more contrast to the mountains. And I'm doing it very, very roughly. But you could see where that, and then you could fine tune from there. But there, the mountains, when we looked before, and you could see they're kind of flat there. So between a little cropping, sides and the top, and get a little bit darkening the mountains, I really think that's nice. Again, sometimes it is hard, but again, it's a beautiful view. But that's where it looked a little, the colors just looked wrong here. That looks a little more natural. So sometimes you just have to play with these. But again, good capture. I love those clouds on the sky. So, okay, that was Gary. Gary, okay.
Okay, this is Fort DeSoto County Park in St. Pete, Florida. The osprey nest was right out in the open near one of the pavilions. I had spotted it a couple days before. I went out near sunrise, and I could set it up on the tripod and sit down in my little folding chair and use my remote and capture as he comes in. And this was shot in landscape, and I cropped it into a portrait because I like the wing formation that he has.
Beautiful. It's hard exposure-wise. Again, it captured everything, but he's so, there's such a range of, let's see if we could just bring that down a little.
Yeah,
you could bring it down to now he's still light here and everything, but you could see detail in him.
that's better.
And you could actually,
I think I did some of that, but yours was working.
yeah. And actually I did it overall. You could do it just on that area as
Right.
well. But you could see, again, that's not a camera's fault. Camera's doing as well as you can, but to expose everything else perfect, he's just so white there, but we bring that back. But otherwise, this is a beautiful capture. Would you have as much of this down here? Did you try taking some of that off, or
I liked it because
you like it like
the,
that?
part of the story is that he's a young osprey. I think this is his first year nest building.
Yeah.
He's doing a terrible job. There's sticks all around the tree,
Yeah.
and he doesn't go down and pick them up and bring them back. He goes off and gets another one. and what they do is the males come in early, build the nest, and then they hope for a female to join them.
Ah.
He didn't get anybody.
They don't use it. He needs a website. Like
So
a
I
Bumble.
wanted to show you that he's got a poorly built nest.
That's right. He said it's shoddy construction. That's okay. And then I know you wanted. There we go. This is beautiful.
What about trying to remove the stuff in front of the bill of the adult?
The front of the bill of the adults. That.
Yeah.
That would be a harder one,
Exactly.
You could, if you were at home, you could go around all of this and whatnot, things too. It would be hard, and I'm not sure what AI would do with that as well.
Do you think it's necessary?
No, I don't. That doesn't really bother me that much. I mean, it's.
If you zoom in at
I
the
might
end
give it, what I might do is I might give it one quick try, and then if it didn't, I'd say, I like it, like this, that's fine. I would not spend any time, because it doesn't really bother me that much
if
at all.
you zoom in on the end of the bill,
The head of, the end of the bill?
yeah, it's actually distinct there.
Yep, the focus is beautiful. I mean, focus, the exposure, the way these two stand out, I mean, it just is the detail on their feathers. I mean, everything is just, and this is a narrow depth of field, f4.4, and yet they are both in just perfect focus. I think this is gorgeous.
Thanks.
I wouldn't change anything on this. This is good. And good. AI can only do so much. That's let's see. George. Is George here? Well, because I needed an explanation of this one. I don't, well, there's a story here, something. I don't know if it's political or whatnot. This looks like a POW memorial here I see up there. I see someone probably was trying to deface it. I see someone else getting it. So I am not, but again, this is obviously a creative picture telling a story, I hope. And in that case, it's he's getting his point across. This would have to come with an explanation of it. But technically, coming the angle from the top like this, the exposure, I understand what's going on even without George here, because I see the, certain things are named and give it away too. So from what I see, this is well done. Okay, what is the story?
So George is part of a 52 frames. So this was actually part 2. There was 2 challenges. The week before was a shot from above, so he did an opposite angle, and then this was showing the other part of the story. So his write-up on there was, tough choosing my shot this week, but went with my gut. I chose this version because I'm very happy with the lighting, the way the subjects are positioned, and the turn of the image. I had another version of this shot where I included the wreath in the top corner. Didn't want to distract from the main focus of the man stopping the vandal. There's a couple errors last week's photo, but I wasn't going to mess with the added flower decorations of what it is. While many guessed for Mafia for part 1, I'm giving credit to the right answer. So basically the first image, which if anybody wants to see it, I can pull it up my phone, but was of the man shooting up, and it just had the baseball bat coming down, so you're trying to figure out what had happened. So
okay, so
this was part 2 of
that
the
gives us
story.
some good. So well done for that. The context there as well. So that is good. Go to this one now. Found that interesting. Okay, this is a nicely done portrait. And then landscape, this works well. Here, you have to look position-wise. Had he been over, had this bridge been coming out of his head, it really would, and that's easy to do. We don't look at that at the time. But If he was standing a little over here, that would really be distracting. With this, that doesn't bother me at all. If I was doing anything on this, I was thinking, I like him off to the side, but there's a little bit on this right that I could get rid of, and maybe just cropping in, even just a little. You still get him on the left side, but there's not as much of that over
So
there.
if you're going to do that, I would also do a little bit on the right, on the other side.
On the other
Because
side?
the whole reason, just based on where those lines were originally, was the rule of thirds. So right there.
So put him in the rule of thirds.
Yeah, so keep that rule
Excellent
of thirds.
point. Right, so so we've taken out some of the extraneous. We still get a landscape style portrait. We have all the necessary elements here, and as Eric pointed out, he's still in the rule of thirds, which is nice. I like that off to the side. Exposure is perfect. I think this is well done. So this is good, and there's no violence in it, so I like it. So yeah, nicely done. So you see how a lot of these, you take the picture, and a lot of the crop sometimes is just an editorial kind of thing. You go home and you just see which way you like it. Okay. Jim, we'll do, okay. You know, okay. This is a night. I really like this. We don't have any camera data on this. It might have been done with the phone. There's no metadata, but everything is sharp. I like this foreground here. The fact that it comes in a diagonal around with the lake, beautiful reflections. Again, a lot of white on that. I would probably bring the highlights down a little. Just a little, or I'd work on the top of those mountains. The sky looks, I don't know if it did anything on the sky, but again, it just looks awfully intensely blue. And again, maybe that's the way it looked. It looks intense. If I was doing anything, because I really like this picture, there's a lot of sky here we probably don't need. We have all these beautiful clouds, but I still have all the beautiful clouds in the blue if I bring that down there. And now it's just not, it's bringing us in a little more. But I just like the reflections. I like the way he's laid this out. I just would probably bring down the sky a tiny bit. Yeah, we have a comment there. Okay.
Richard, if you go back to the crop tool
Yeah.
and bring up, by bringing the top down, also now the mountains are at the top third.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. As Gary points out, the rule of thirds, the mountain is pleasing to our eye because it's right on the line there, as opposed to when we had this. Now that we go back to the original, we could see that, it's a nice picture, but it's kind of square, and we have that extra amount. But so by putting that mountain, getting rid of some of the extraneous sky, and putting the mountain right in the rule of thirds there, right there. That's just more visually pleasing. So again, that is, I think, again, recognizing this is 9/10 of it. The rest we're doing is just technical things too. So I think this is a beautiful, beautiful capture. So again, well done by Jim. Okay. Let's go to another one here. Okay. Nice bird shot from below. A little bit bright. Let me bring down the highlights a little.
Well, the bird is bright, so that's a
right,
normal
the bird,
shot.
right, it's bright yellow, but I'm looking here, there are whites here too. I'm just seeing what happens if I just bring it down. Actually, if I just select out the bird, just kind of grossly there, even though it took, and if we try just bringing down so we haven't made the bird any less bright. What we've done is just the head, which was more leaning towards a little too bright. But again, you could do that according to taste there as well. and maybe bring down, the background is awfully light there too. If we take this, if we just select out the background, if we select our subject and then invert that, and we'll try just bringing down the background just a little. You know, I'm just playing with it. We're kind of, you know, there's before, and you have two bright things there. So now we have you still have that intense yellow color of the bird. And then you could play with things. I mean, if you look at that sky and you want to see, one of the things you could play with is you could go into the colors, pick out, since there's no blue in the bird, you could take the sky and you could take the color out completely, see how he just looks against that. Now, sometimes that doesn't work, but again, you could play there too. So what we did here is just, there's before, there's afterwards, and again, just to show you what tools you have. If you like, and you could do this according to taste, and you could come back and say that's a little too dark for the background. You could lighten it up again. You go back and forth, but at least you know the things you're able to do. But again, with the bird there, that's before, afterwards. We've kept the intense color, yellow color. I love that it's on an angle like this. Yeah, I don't think it's too busy. There's nothing I do different, except is, again, sensor dust. See it here?
Yeah.
Here, 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 all over the place. Yeah, unavoidable. Sensor dust is sensor dust. That's nothing to do with you, but basically is with the healing brush, you just touch each one of those and it's gone. Otherwise, you get a beautiful picture like this, and once you know it's there, that's all you're kind of looking at. Eric, Gary's got it.
To help you find sensor dust, if you take the clarity,
Dehaze.
excuse me, yeah.
Dehaze. You take dehaze. As what Gary's saying is that if you want to see sensor dust better, you could take dehaze artificially and move it up, and they all show up as, you know, dark dots then too. And then you move it back to where it was. So that'll help you find it sometimes as well. Yep. Well, yes, you could. Sensor dust shows up usually in large monochromatic areas like sky or walls or things too. That's why you don't notice it in the other things too. And yes, you could see where your sensor dust is by photographing a monochromatic wall and whatnot. But my point is, what am I going to do then? I'm either going to clean my sensor or I'm going to just touch up the dots too. So whenever whenever I see sensor dust there, I just clone them out. Other people just take it to the thing and get it clean too. But if I don't see it, I don't care that it's there. It's not lens dust. It's that lens dust won't show on the image. Yeah, it's sensor. We have comment?
What causes the darker blue around the branches?
The darker blue around the branches could be some form of chromatic aberration. I'm not sure what this was done with, but that is when certain lenses, the different colors, all the different colors have different wavelengths, and they're all supposed to be focused on one point. But in some lenses, they don't all focus them in one point. If the blue is focused at a little bit different, you get that fringing, it's called, which is chromatic aberration again. So and there are ways to fix that in Photoshop. But again, I'm not sure if this wasn't a phone camera or whatnot because there's no metadata here. I doubt if it was a phone camera, but there is no metadata here. Let me look at the metadata and, yeah, nothing. So, yep, just not sure what that is. Again. So, yep. But
it was a 180 to 600 lens.
180 to 600?
Yeah,
Okay.
on a Z9.
Okay. That could be a little chromatic aberration on that then as well. Okay. Yes, you had.
Really quick, can you try taking out that little white stick on the top right corner? It's going the wrong way.
The stick on the right corner up here?
Yes, sir.
That little thing there?
Yes.
Your wish is my command there. All right, no problem. So these are, again, the little minor things. Now, as much as we make fun of her asking me, to do that, is once you see those little things, your eye is drawn to them, and they do stick out. So it is an important part of every picture, of the little things like that that are sticking there to take care of. Okay, Jean. Beautiful. Is Jean here?
Yes, I'm here.
You are.
Sunrise
Oh, there you
at where's that? Pine Hollow. I was going to call it the sledding
Okay.
hill, but Pine Hollow in the national park. So one of the questions I have is the red reflection, the rays coming from the sun and
Right.
then reflecting in the flowers.
Well, they're not reflecting in the flowers. I'm quite sure that's a bit of, that's lens flare.
And that's
Down
a bad
here.
thing?
Well, no, it's an effect thing. Sometimes people like that. That's why we use a lens hood. Sometimes the light comes in. If it hits the side of the lens inside and then bounces over, you get that bouncing around. That's why we use a lens hood, to prevent stray light coming in from the side. But when you're photographing right into the light like that, you'll see that, usually up in the corners, and there's not much you could do when you're photographing into the sun. You'll see that on a lot of pictures. You see it right here,
Yes.
and you see it over here, and I think that's lens flare.
Okay.
And so nothing you could do. It's just part of the, I saw that immediately. I knew it's lens flare. It's part of the effect. I love the way the rays are coming in like that. This is beautiful. I mean, it's technically hard photographing into the sun, too. So lens flare is something you just get, and nothing you could do there. So, but I think it doesn't take anything away from the picture. My question is, what were you focusing on here? Because this is a 50 millimeter lens, and I love the way these flowers are in focus up front here. So most people would just focus on the background or something too. Were you focusing up on the flowers?
I don't remember.
Oh, just say yes, and then we
Yes,
all think
yes.
yeah, good. See, Sheena, that's it, right? Yes, of course, that's what I was doing.
I probably hadn't had enough coffee to know the difference.
And I think, again, that is good. This is a little blurred back here, but you don't care. That's in the background. But these jump out at you, the Queen Anne's lace here, too. So, yeah, I think that is great, that decision to focus down there as well. And I think this works beautifully. I wouldn't do anything different on this.
Thank
So,
you.
very nice. Very nice. Make my job hard. Let's do the other one. It's pretty. Okay. Okay. Beautiful.
That's in South Carolina. What? Oh, Bluffton, yes, across from Hilton Head.
Okay. Now, the first thing that jumped out of this to me, everything's good, but there's no deep blacks here or darks. So the contrast looks a little flat. So let's give it just a little bit more darks. And now as we go back and forth, look at the before and after. You see the difference?
Yes.
Now that looks flat. And
Yeah.
it's flat because there are no real blacks or darks. There we do. So nothing's black, but the darks are dark. The colors pop out more. The sky is a little bit better. So yeah, I think that made all the difference right there.
Well, I knew there was something wrong with it, but I couldn't figure
Yeah.
out what it was.
In this case, it's flat because there's no real darks in it. Remember, the light meter of your camera is taking an average overall thing, which does fine, but these little fine adjustments, it's not perfect. So in this case, well, okay, it's a little bit, it's not overexposed. It's not that the whole thing's too light. It's that there's missing some just darks or blacks. So I just adjusted those. And now, because I really love this, I wouldn't change anything. I like the crop. I like the subject matter. You know, I like the way, I really like the way you did this.
Thank you.
This is good. Yeah, Gary.
Richard, would you select the sky?
I would be, I'll try, but that's difficult here because the sky goes in and
Well,
around
let's try.
everything.
Let's try.
But just, I will. Here you go. Select sky, it's doing it. Okay,
Well, I'm not happy with the selection, but go ahead.
what do you want me to do with it?
Reduce the highlights a little.
Reduce the highlights a little. Okay.
Okay.
Yep, so there we go. Gary had me reduce the highlights in the sky to there, and we get a little more definition of the clouds. And again, you try. I might not reduce it that much, but a little bit like that. And he's right there. Enough just to, we get the blue of the sky. It's not just white there too, so great. So you see, once you start seeing these things, you could make them to your own liking. But very well done. Again, I love these compositions and, you know, the idea that you had in your head. These are just minor technical things, so, but the spotting in this picture is excellent. So good work, Gene. Let's see. Okay, Joe. I'm going to do this one on Joe. Joe's in North Carolina, I think, or South Carolina. So, interesting picture. You know, again, to recognize this capture, and this is a hard one. You got to focus fast and do everything, and I think everything looks, the focus looks good. And remember, you're going to want to, and to try to get them all in focus. And sometimes you'll notice the focus was probably the ones here. Like this is in focus, you noticed, but the ones in the back aren't. And sometimes that's a decision you have to make right at the time. You can, now this is f8, and you have enough room, it's a bright day, you could use f16, go aperture priority, f16, and that would give you a little more. But I'll tell you, sometimes these things happen fast. You look, they're running with the wave chasing them, you snap your picture too. And I don't think that makes a, you know, difference that it goes a little, that the depth of field is smaller. The composition is beautiful. Look at the long shadows on them. It's a beautiful grouping. I wouldn't change anything cropping wise. And yeah, Bob, the shadow on the left side, that.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, down in the sand,
Down in the sand.
that one.
Okay, so since we don't see what's causing that shadow, it seems to be sticking out of nowhere, and that's a good point too. So let's just see if I can quickly. Get rid of that shadow. Excellent point. These are the fine-tuning things of the picture. And Bob's point was an excellent one, is that shadow. First of all, it's going off the edge, but the ones on the right are going off the edge, but you see the birds that are creating them. So this one doesn't, so that's excellent. Good suggestion. Okay. Excellent. Let's go to this one. I love this. This is now again, when we talk about oversaturation and whatnot, when you have a picture that you're trying to look lifelike and you oversaturate, it kind of doesn't look right. When you're going for something abstract and want an effect, it's beautiful. So in this case, you don't say, well, the colors are oversaturated. It's not in focus. This brings me back almost to Bob, your picture too. It's just it's a minimalist scene. Again, suns, when you're right into the sun is hard to do, but look at these rays. The rays are just these beautiful rays. The crop is perfect. The fact, if this was in perfect focus, these waves, wouldn't be the same picture. I just actually, I wanted to show this, I just thought this is, it shows you don't have to, when we talk about everything in perfect focus or everything here. This is set, that sun is dead center in the middle, and it's beautiful. You can't read the shutter. It is 5.8 seconds. So this is to get a little movement in the water. So it's a 70 millimeters at ISO 100, f8 at 5.8 seconds. So time exposure too. Really, really difficult to do, but you know, he had a good vision on this, and this is just beautiful. Yeah.
Richard,
Yes.
Just amuse me for a second. Can you throw up the grid? Because it looks like it's just off center to the right,
Uh-oh.
dead center.
Nitpicker,
which is-
nitpickers.
well,
Okay,
No,
we got
because it's like,
nitpickers
it's
there.
one of those things where
No, I
it's
know, you're right. It should
like it either
be,
needs to bring some in from the right and make it more on the right, or
So
actually
let
center
me-
it.
wait. I could easily, I do it better in, where is geometry here?
Sorry.
And I actually do it with the arrow key that I'm able to. Oh, well, before we did anything, that's original. That looks pretty straight.
I didn't say it wasn't straight. Put this.
Oh, you want it cropped actually, so the sun is in the middle,
Yeah, either in the center or on the right.
like that?
Yeah, and I just wanted to see what it looked like.
Okay. Beautiful. I thought it was in the center before, but you're right. It's just, but you're right. That's an artistic thing. You look at that. I actually like when it was a little bit longer. Now you could take this and elongate it on each side. Let's go back to the full crop. A little more panoramic here too. But one thing you could do, to your point, is you could center that sun and then enlarge both sides with that generative fill or generative expand to make it this panoramic thing again. And I agree with you there. Now that I look at it, it's off. Yes, I agree there too. So I would probably center this and then expand the sides a little. Huh? Or expand, geez, you could tell there's a, or as Gary said, or just expand the right side, which is true. That would work as well. So, but now you know how to do it, so I want to get through everyone, so I won't. Joe, John, okay. Well, this is an interesting one. Is John here? I didn't see John. This is very interesting. Not certain where this, those look like monks, but this looks like one of the Cleveland piers as well. Yeah, that looks like the lighthouse.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the
Yeah.
mile-long pier in Lorraine.
Yeah. Interesting shot. This was, f8, 1/8 of a, it's an interesting choice of 1/8 of a second. I'm not sure what that is. Now, but it's sharp, too. But it's a nice composition. I like it. You could toy with the idea of that big thing in the middle with the
Yeah, I was
whole
gonna say,
thing. Is this whole thing, would it be better with or without it? And that is
Or maybe just tone down the green.
or tone down the green, or
Desaturate.
let's just
Desaturate the green a little bit.
bear with me one
Well, yeah.
bear with me 1 second. And again, I want us to get out tonight, but I want to, you see, I'm just making a rough thing. And then I would usually enlarge and come more. And
I don't think it likes you.
oh, it's wanting me to check my internet connection. And try again. This does not work on your computer. This actually works through the internet on their servers for the AI because it takes so much power. That's what. There we go. I know it is magic. And then we would come back and we would then we would take our little remove tool and take. Oh, I want to do that. There, that little thing there. Just it gives you an idea. So here we have, interesting. But yeah, there it is. That was distracting. I don't know, what do you think? Do you think it's before or after? After, okay. Yeah, and I think it's an interesting picture. You could probably crop down a little on the sky here. And now the monks kind of stand out. You have people fishing on the pier. I think it's a really interesting picture. And what we've done is, it's no fault of your own that thing is there. But your vision was those monks in and among here, the monk is using a phone. You have the regular dress fisherman, and you have no control of the poles there. So that was your vision. This was what you were looking for. So as long as this is art, not photojournalism, I actually love this picture. Whereas before that, so it's whatever you want to do there. Okay, let's see. Interesting. Yeah, it's a panorama. You got the four of them there. It tells a story. It's hard without the story to know. It's technically fine. Yeah, I like it. Depends really what you're going for, too. One of the things to think about, and again, it is just a rule, but the mind tends to like odds rather than evens. And I was just fooling around with, let's see, who's the more interesting one here? You could try it with both. With 3. And, you know, for some reason, 4 is, well, let me just bring this in a little more. But you could, what was that? Oh, yeah, that's right. So exactly. The color of the other one was different. These 3 have all some degree of green. The green ribbons they have and the green in their dress, too. And also 3 is more pleasing for the eye as well. So a shot like this, actually, you know, I like that. 4 is a bit more difficult on the eye. So here is 4. Yeah, it's a ribbon, right. They both are holding parts of the ribbon. In which case, they have both ends of the ribbon, and this woman, the side, not only has a different color on, but has nothing to do with the ribbon. So, yeah, so we got to get rid of it. So I think just cropping like that helps. So these are all artistic things you could think. Mick, you had a question there?
Yeah, just real quickly, in the olden days, before we could wipe everybody out, we would move them. And you probably don't have time tonight to do it, but if you wanted her in the picture, you could move her up the steps, over to the side.
Or out the door.
Or out the door, but...
Yeah, no, you're right. We could move around.
And that would add to the asymmetry that even numbers
right.
give you.
And Mike's, your point, Mick, about moving around is, and here it gets into a philosophic thing. It's why I don't have any problem cropping or removing things as well. But adding things is, it's still art, so I agree then. But when you're moving the person, you're actually, it's like adding. It's like I made a circle here and told Generative Fill to add a woman there with a blue blouse or a red blouse too. So, but no, that's perfectly fine. And there's nothing wrong with that. Yes.
The one in the hot pink sweater?
Yes.
Probably owns the building.
Yes, that is. But again, if you're doing a photojournalistic shot, if you're telling a story or whatnot, that's fine. It all depends what you want. If you're looking just artistically, you'd say, well, she's not involved with the ribbon coloring. 3 is better than 4. The color doesn't match. Gary, yeah. Zoom in on her. She's holding the scissors. She's holding the scissors. I'm not impressed. No, but these are artistic decisions. And it's not that one is better than another or one picture is better than another. But it just gives you the ability to see that. You might say, I like it the original way. Or you might say, no, I like the way you did it. It just gives you that options. Okay, here is... Take the one on the right. Okay. The one on the right.
So this was at the old B&O Roundhouse, and I got a dust problem, so I tried the heel tool, but I'm not sure the brush size to get rid of it.
A rust problem or a dust problem?
It's a dust problem. Rust is fine.
Okay.
They're old trains.
Yeah. Well, the thing here to notice is when I look at this, again, it just looks a bit flat. And I think that's because, again, the camera just actually just overexposed a little. See on the histogram, there's a flat part here, meaning there's no darks. So same thing we did in those other ones. If I just bring some darks into the picture.
But the problem I have with it is kind of in the upper.
Right, but we do one thing at a time.
Okay.
So you see that, the difference there to there. So we brought out the colors there. The other problem is you're photographing or almost into the sun. And when we do that, you see this big flare? You see this big circle here. There's another circle here. And here is some flare over here with the rainbow. That's just because the sun is coming like from the upper right, probably hitting the side of the lens. Did you have a lens hood on?
No, I just had a polarizing filter.
Okay.
I had a lens hood in my bag, but I didn't take it out.
Yeah, well, here's why you need a lens hood. Because the sun, which is probably in the upper right here, the sun is coming in, it's hitting the side of your lens and bouncing around inside of it, the inside of your lens. With a lens hood that sticks out, then the sun can't hit and bounce in other words, the lens hood blocks out the sun as well, because this is the sun from the upper right here hitting the inside of your lens and bouncing around, making the flare here. So that's number one. So the other is we've added some blacks there. Now your other problem was which now?
Oh no, the major problem I had with it was just that spot that I thought was
Right.
dense. I didn't know what it.
Well, first of all, everything
was.
is blown out there. Let me try to take down the highlights. See, we can't. Those are mostly blown out. Now, what you're saying, what's off to the, you're saying dust?
Oh no, I thought it was dust. I didn't realize
Where?
it was lens flare.
Oh, you mean this here?
Yes.
The rain? Yeah, that's lens flare.
So, is there anything post-processing I can
That's
do aside
real
from
hard.
clone stamp?
You know, because it's affecting this whole area here. So you couldn't like recreate this. This would be. Well, yeah, it's not, and you could try that, you know, but you're asking it to do. I know you're not going to let me alone. Are you? We're never going to get out of here. Okay, I am going to quickly, for Bob in the back, I am going to draw this, and my prediction is it cannot be done. Okay, and we'll just see in general what it could do. Again, this is not magic, so that's okay. Okay, I'm giving it a try.
Wow, thank you.
Oh my gosh, and it gives us 3 different. Oh my gosh. Well. That is, well, it just shows you the power of these things as well. And you could probably work it on this too and get that out as well. You know, with this, the thing is this is all non-destructive. So you could try, if it doesn't work, you're back to your original thing. This is, let's see, let me take that in. Well, you know, it is a powerful tool, and it took care of the things that I said it couldn't take care of. So your lens flare is gone. We have deepened the blacks there. So this looks a lot better. Does this look a lot better to you now?
Yes. I mean, it was just the lens flare that was really bothering
Well,
me.
Bob took care of the lens flare.
Thank you.
My only contribution is use the lens hood. And we added the blacks there, so no, good work. I learned something tonight. That is interesting. Okay, let's stay in the B&O Roundhouse. Okay, on this.
Aside from adjusting levels, I was just wondering, would this be a type of image where if I had used a wider angle lens, it would somehow look better, more stretched out?
more stressed out. If you had a wide-angle lens, you'd show more of the train. There are several things, too. One, it looked a little bit on an angle for me, a little bit, so I just turned like that. See, the tracks are flat now. Let's see. Yeah, before the tracks were, let me just bring in that crop then from the, okay. Yeah, so before the tracks were rotated a little. So now the train is straighter. But again, what jumps out at me, there's no blacks. It's just flat as well. And watch what happens when we add some blacks. And you see what you've done here is there. And now you could still see detail in the shadows, but the colors, everything has gotten better. And we've straightened out the train. And then for Amy, because Amy is right on that, you see that there's one, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. So this is true. This little thing, and you have no control over that. There. It's a little distracting thing. So I think in this, I really like the way this looks. You can actually, for the train itself, let's take, for the train itself, let's then see if we, because it still is a little, all I'm doing is darkening up or giving a little more contrast to the train. There. And now that jumps out a little more. Okay. So what we go from is from our original, see it was rotated, and the train looks like it's on an angle, and it's flat, and all we did is, I think, so what do you think, Aaron?
Sorry, is that it took too much of the smoke or steam out. So this was actually a steam engine. This is steam in the
so there's more steam up
valley.
there?
Yeah, so originally you would see that there's more haze in there.
Yes, and actually, again, haze is, there's nothing wrong with haze. That's kind of natural. If you wanted to take out the haze,
No, I wanted more haze in there
you wanted more haze.
because originally it had more haze.
Okay. So it was it was a steam engine. So it had more over there?
No, it was actually more along the length of the train because when I was taking this picture, it was a very smoky
Yes.
looking area.
Okay. By the train?
Yes.
And you took that out?
Yeah, because I felt that
Okay.
I think it might be a matter of balancing how many zeros you put in when you crop on the zero side.
Yeah. Well, no, I think that's, but then whatever we can't see the original with the steam, but if you think this looks better, fine. If not, I keep it the other way. That just depends on what you like, what you think looks better. We could make it anyway. But again, I think these other things do make a difference because, again, having to be straight, and again, this looks like the train is a little tipping over there, and the fact that it's kind of flat, that makes a big difference there. So knowing how to do those simple things, really helps. But I like the fact that a wider angle lens just might show a little more of the train, but I think we see enough of the train here. It's going around the bend. I liked it. So I think that's fine. Okay. Let's see, Karen. Ken here? This is beautiful. Ken submitted in black and white. And this actually is, this is hard to do. This is artificial light. He's got blacks and white, and the exposure is just perfect. And I was looking at this, and I can't think of anything to do. I tried just fooling to maybe make it more on the tire, since the other was black, but that's just a creative decision. I might like it like that. Ken might like it like this. Both are correct. There's nothing wrong with being off-center, but I think the lighting is just beautiful on this, and I can't think of anything different to do. So, yes, what does she want me to get rid of? I'm looking, and I can't. Okay.
If he has more room on the original, like that much more on the bottom of the tire, like this.
Okay, your point, Amy, was if there was,
He has the room on.
right, so if you said if there was just a little more room on the bottom, then too. So we'll try that. Maybe that much and see. But again, black and artificial light with this black and white, those blacks are just beautiful blacks.
Hey,
And there's-
Richard, do you think this was light painted or just?
It might have been light
artificial
painted, right, it might have been light painted. You're right, that's a good thing. The lighting is just so perfect in this that I never thought of that. Light painting is just ideal. So you see, that's Amy's point, that we just gave it a little. Beautiful. So no, that's a good point, because the mounting would take away more of the tire then. So yeah, that could have been light painted. I'll have to ask Ken. That, okay, and this other one, let's do that one. Again, a study in patterns, the whites, the darks, pure black in the background. This is, take it from me, this is not easy to do. You notice we have bright whites here, but nothing is blown out. We have deep blacks. You could see tones. This is very well done. Unless someone could think of something, I can't think of anything to do on that. Cropping from the right? You mean just bring in, oh, let me take that off. Like that? Okay, whoops. Yeah. Depends. Okay, excellent. I want to make sure we get to these. We're almost at the end here. Hang with me. I promised everyone. Okay. Lance. First and third. Okay. There you go. Very, very interesting. I looked at this one for a long time.
That's downtown on by one of the parks, and really I just blew out the exposure a little bit.
Right. Look how much is blown out. But here again, this is the artistic thing. You'd look at this and say, it's blown out. Let's tone down the highlights. Let's do... No, this is like an abstract. This is what we call a high-key photograph. You did this purposely. This is a 6-second exposure where whites just kind of go into whites. The tree is white, whitish in the background. I think this is beautiful. And this is the pattern. You're F22, so things are staying in focus. And the yellow on this, this is just, it's just a great kind of creative picture. I really liked all this. This is technically not easy to do. It's easy to say, okay, let's make sure we don't blow highlight, to correct everything so it's technically right. This is breaking the rules and doing things purposely to get an effect. And I think it really works here. So this is really nice.
After the pattern of the zigzag.
Yes, the patterns of the zigzag just going back. And the water's all, the only thing separating the white up there from the white of the water, the white, is this horizon line. And I think that's part of which really is just beautiful. Very well done.
Thank you.
That is making my job hard. Yes, a question on that.
The metal shields, are they overexposed, or did you compensate for that? They look to me like that's the right color, natural.
That's the natural color, but that's just with the exposure turned up a bit. They were dark enough
Yeah.
that they didn't get blown out.
Really works well. Which one do you want me to?
Third.
Third. Beautiful. 2-second exposure, so a time one. And it looks like, is that part of the moon?
That's the moon. That's the moon.
The moon, part of the moon in the back. The detail, you see the stars up there. It's on a tripod, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it just,
And windy.
and windy, yes, you can see some of the movement. But just the way the houses are lit up, this is nighttime, but it's just in the trees. This wasn't light painted.
No.
No, but look at that, the lighting on the trees in the front here. What is the light in the water?
That's the waves.
That's okay, so that's the waves with a 2-second exposure. Interesting. I found this picture fascinating.
That was Saturday night. Went to look at the northern lights. They didn't show up, but it was a beautiful windy night.
They would spoil the picture. I really love this. Let's see if I give this a little, no.
The lighthouse. That's in Vermilion at the lighthouse.
I think this is very, very well done. This is technically hard to do. I just pinpoint, like the stars and everything. I really like that. I can see that, the distant glows in the background, the moon. Very well done, Lance.
Thank you.
Excellent. Gee, again, making my job hard. Let's see. If you grant me, we should be done in 15 minutes, and I want to get everyone's in. So if you bear with me, we will. Whoa. Now is Mario here? Right there with Mario. Mario, what city is this? Dubai. Okay. That is, and the color in the water, is that water there?
Yeah, it's water. I didn't do anything. I don't think I did much to that one.
So
That
did
one-
they do, because the water up there is watercolor, water.
Yeah, it's like I don't know, it's like a water park. I was up in the tallest building in the world, and they had these
The
openings.
Burj Khalifa?
I forget the name of the building.
Yes,
but I was
the Burj-
but they had these small openings, and I just held my camera out.
Camera
and I really
out the
couldn't-
window, and yes, 1/60th f8.
Yeah, I really couldn't see what it was.
Beautiful. 24 millimeter lens. Early morning or evening, late evening.
Yeah, it was in the evening.
Yes, the evening, that golden hour.
Right.
I think this is one of those that just it's worth trying the shot. Like I said, holding the camera out, anything you can do to get it, because this is just a one-time shot. The subject matter is just so interesting. Your eyes and the way that water looks, whether they've dyed it or it's part of an industrial thing, that's really interesting. I think this is fascinating. And I love the fact that it's in the evening. You get this kind of golden thing on some of the buildings from the night sun. And the exposure is perfect.
Yeah, I guess I kind of lucked out. I got up there at the right time.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with luck.
Yeah.
That is, but this is, I wouldn't do anything in terms of cropping of this and whatnot. I just really like this. Wish I had taken it. Very nice. Wow. Any preference on which of these other two?
It doesn't matter.
Okay. Is this Alcatraz?
Yeah, it's Alcatraz.
Okay, not that I've been there, but hi home. This is interesting. It's a hard time of day to get it. I see were you on a tripod or on the boat?
Actually, I had my Plato pod, and I forgot to bring it with me, so I went up on top of a roof of a parking garage and
Right.
put my camera, laid it on a ledge, and put something under the lens, and then used
Right.
my...
That's hard. You got a 1-second exposure.
Right.
Right, and that's hard to do. It looks like you did it pretty well, though. It's a hard time of day. You're after sunset, but before the blue hour. I'm thinking and let me just experiment here, whether this is rotated or not. Because Alcatraz, the background looks not rotated, but Alcatraz looks a little, whoops, and because I don't remember when I was there that it was tilted. Let's see, my rotating tool is. See that. Just bring it in a little here. Get rid of crop things there. Yeah, I think it was rotated a tiny bit.
Right.
So now Alcatraz is more level there as well. This is a hard time. It's a little flat, but at this time of day, after sunset, there's not a lot of color there. The exposure is perfect. It's just there's between the haze and whatnot. It's just a very difficult time. I'm not sure what I would.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I did? I hit the auto button.
Yeah, I see.
When in doubt, I hit, and sometimes that is not don't be ashamed of that. I hit the auto button, which adjusted a little exposure, contrast, high. It uses AI to see what adjustments it should make. And actually, that's pretty impressive. So that's a case where I would have a hard time, something is obvious too. But again, with the auto feature here, it made a lot of adjustments that I actually think that does well.
Yeah, you see a lot more detail.
Yeah, you see a lot more detail. It brought out for this difficult time of day. So we rotated a little and used the auto feature on it as well. The what? The white. The white wave. This thing? Boy, you guys. You guys. There. Okay, any prisoners you want me to get out or things like that? No, beautiful capture. And again, some pictures are difficult. This is a difficult time of day. Again, you don't have the evening light because it's just after sunset, but it's before the blue hour, and so everything is just this off color with haze. So hard. That's where auto is needed. Very nice. Very nice.
Thanks for the
Good
auto.
job with the 1 second holding because that was in focus.
Yeah, like I said, I just laid it on a ledge, and so it, and then I put the timer on it.
Yes, that works. Okay, this is Mason here? Mason's there. Okay. Mason the mic.
So I took this photo in Knoxville, Tennessee, and I remember when I took it, I wanted to have a good memory of what the streets look like.
Uh-huh.
So I got into position and I took that specific photo to try to get everything in one place and to try to get the whole feel of the city
Yep.
into one specific photo. And that one was my favorite photo that I took.
Great. And this is, again, you knew what you wanted to show and you got it. Here's a case where this is a problem. The camera's doing it best it can. You have bright white for the sky, and you have deep shadows down here. The camera says, what do I do? And it gives you an average, which means the sky is a little too white, and back here is a little too dark. That's the best the camera could do. So there's no mistake with the person here, or the camera. So afterwards, this is just a challenging light situation. So here, the first thing I would do is let's see if we could tone down the highlights of the sky. So I'll just bring those down a little. And let's take the shadows and increase those. Like that. And then we have this little motorcycle here, which I know Amy does. I saw her putting her hand up to look at that. But what I'm saying is here, we're looking at cropping. When I'm saying, what could we do? And with this building that's tilted on the left, I probably could come in a little. I wouldn't come in more. I like that building. Or maybe keep it there and just get rid of the motorcycle. What do you think, Amy? Just get. Oh, straighten the, okay. Let's yeah, that's a good pickup too. This is on a little bit of an angle, too. So let's rotate it so the pole is straight. Okay, and let me just bring that down. Very good point. Now, whenever we point our camera up at things, you'll get this keystoning effect. You see the building is tilted in on the left here. There's nothing you could do. You could correct some of that, but this doesn't really detract. That's off to the side, so that's fine. In fact, if we go to try to correct that, let me see. You can correct it a little. Okay, I used auto once now. Maybe we want to eliminate me, and we don't need you up there. Just hit the A for auto. And that what that does, but it did crop some off the bottom. But you could fill that back again. I know. I know. I taught you. Remember? No, that's. Yes, you can, and you could then fill a little back of the bottom. But you know what Amy said, and Eric too, is look at this now. That pole is straight. The building did do a good job, and that does look better. So you see that point we just straightened out. So you had the vision right. The camera you didn't do anything wrong with the camera. When you tilt the camera up, buildings do that, but we know how to correct it. The light and dark, the camera can't do. There is the original. And there we brought that back again. So what do you think, Mason? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much, yeah, it looks a lot better.
Yeah.
The lighting's definitely a lot better.
So, but you see, at the time, if you knew all what we just did, at the time, if you go back with the camera, you couldn't have done anything different, and that's my point. You couldn't have done a different setting. You couldn't have not made those buildings. You couldn't. So basically, is sometimes that's the best you could get. So you're not doing anything wrong, but knowing how to correct those things that the camera can't get afterwards, it brings you what you were thinking of here, which is really, I really like this picture. It's beautiful. Really captures the city and everything as well. So that's our before, and that's afterwards. Very good. Yes, we have the mic back there and back. No, oh. Yep, the mic there.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's a picture that might have been shot in HDR at the time, which
Right.
would have taken care of the exposure issues and probably got
Right.
a little bit cleaner exposure.
Mixed point is in the old days. With this, since one exposure won't capture the lights and the darks, you take 3 pictures. One would be this one, the correct exposure. Another one, purposely overexposed, which would get these buildings perfect, but the sky would be white. And then one purposely underexposed, so the sky would be perfect, but these would be black. And then in Photoshop, you combine it all, and you get the perfect picture. So that, you're right, that is another way to yes. Yes, go ahead, yeah. Click on auto up here.
Click on auto, okay, and then go to crop and do the auto again in the crop.
What points Gary is making is my job is really superfluous, and is that you just blew the night. No, you know, Gary's point is actually a tremendous one. It's important to know how to do these things and the principle behind it. But what Photoshop 5 years ago, if you used any of the auto buttons, it would be 10% of the time it would get you what you want. They are so much better now. And what you just saw is me do, not that much work, but a lot of sliders, and I got a nice picture. What Gary said is we just push 2 buttons, 2 auto buttons, and we've got this perfect thing right here. And I think that says a lot. That's not anything to be ashamed of, because remember, you did the artistic work with doing this. How you get to this point, whether you push an auto button or move the sliders, doesn't make a difference. Excellent point, Gary. Huh? That's right. No, but this is an amazing thing. That was 2 clicks to get the same thing I did all that time for. So very, very, very good point. Excellent. Do we do the first one? Sure. The little depth of field thing here. This is 7.1, 1/10 of a second. Okay, what were you trying to get here?
So I took this photo around 2 years ago at a creative arts camp. I remember I really wasn't looking for anything specific when I took the photo. I was sort of just hanging out with my friends, and then I saw my friend's guitar lying towards me. And I remember at the time I wanted to take a lot of abstract photos, and I just saw the perfect opportunity right there and then to take a really unique photo. and to make it look really, really different. So I really adjusted the focus to make it look like it was almost like a tightrope, I guess. And
Right.
yeah,
It's got that narrow depth of field. Even though it's 7.1, you focused right in here. And the depth of field is probably an inch on each side. And you're right. So you notice this is perfect focus here, but then you get that abstract thing as these go out of focus. That's kind of what you were going for?
yeah,
Yeah. That works because you could see the focus point was right around there. And this is a hard one. This is handheld. This is a tenth of a second.
mhm.
So it's nice to be young. That's right. Be able to hold it steady like that. But yeah, as an abstract, that works fine. Yep. If you were doing it again, the one thing is this works well as an abstract. But if you were doing this, this green, if I would move that away, maybe it doesn't make a difference. Maybe this is, again, when you deal with artistic things, then it really just, I don't know what I'm doing here. Yeah, it really is what your vision, what you're trying to accomplish. And with digital now, you could do multiple ones. You could focus on different spots. You could try different depth of fields. It all depends on what you want. I think this is nice.
Yeah,
So good abstract there.
thanks.
Okay, we just have, if you bear with me, we just have 2 more people, and then we're done. Get everyone's in. This is Peter Tchaikovsky's. Really not, again, black and I think this might have been Stone Garden Farm. Peter's not here, is it? Okay. Again, black and whites are very hard to do, but remember those ones that looked flat? And here it doesn't look flat, because in this picture there are deep blacks and there are deep whites, or bright whites, without blowing things out. So you get the full range, and this picture just is, and these are hard to do. Now, if I was doing this again, one problem when you're doing up-close work is the depth of field. This is f4. You notice the focus here is perfect, but by the time you get an inch away the back, that's a little out of focus. So I would probably, since this is a 15th of a second, maybe a tripod, I would use like F11 or something to try to get this whole thing in focus.
Given the ISO, I don't think that he was.
You're right.
I guess he probably wasn't on a tripod, because I would have gone slower and lowered the ISO. I mean, noise reduction did a great job because it looks like he enhanced it with noise reduction. But
You're right. Eric's point is we're already up at a ISO 3200 again. So if we were to go to F22 to let in a lot less light, we'd either have to, one, make this a 10-second exposure, which if you're on a tripod, you could do. But if you're hand holding, so you can't make that any less than a 15th, you'd have to bump this to like 20,000, something where you'd really get problems. So you're right. If you were on a tripod, you would then try to make this F11 or F16, and then maybe whatever the camera told you, 10 seconds to get that. Is that what you were thinking? Yeah, to get this in focus. So if you have your time here, you could try multiple ones. But if this is what the person was going for, that's fine. But I would kind of like to see, I like the background out of focus, but the rest of this in. I mean, this looks like an old phonograph needle, and the point is perfect. But again, just depends on, this is your artistic vision. And what? No, don't give the mic to Amy. I thought Amy was looking at something, and I'm not going to.
Something you could try would be in Topaz to select just the out of focus text and apply Topaz. There's both sharpening and text reconstruction in Topaz.
In other words, with Topaz to selectively sharpen that area too. Right, with Topaz Sharpen AI, you can mask areas and you could selectively sharpen certain areas, and sometimes that can get you back. So that is a way, if this is all you have and you want to try that, that is another technique. You're right, that would be worth trying. Never thought of that. Okay. Here's an interesting shot at Christmas time. downtown. And when I looked at this, first thing is there's a lot of bright whites, and I just experimented. Let me see if I could just bring the highlights down a little. And actually, it didn't do that much. It made the whole thing look dull. But the other thing is these people down here. I said, what if I could bring those shadows up a little? So what I'm going to do selectively with a brush is to do them there. So now we have, now again, you might say I like that silhouette there, but they're not entirely silhouetted, or you bring that out. The other thing that I saw in this was those bright lights on the left kind of looked at me. If you could just get rid of that, bring that in like that. That's another thing. And if you notice, when I brought all the highlights down, it looked kind of funky. But these areas that are just bright off to the side, they're on the side, and they just kind of jumped out at me. So if you could go back, if you could selectively just reduce, oh, let's create a new mask, brush. If you could selectively, there, just tone right. Tone that down so it's not on the edge there as well. So what you've done is, in a sense, with just a few minor modifications, is there, and you've brought that back. You've brought that distracting light off the left. So minor things. I mean, I make fun of Amy, but she's right. Is those things are, it was a little street light off to the side. That's a tiny thing. But your eye gets drawn there. It throws off the symmetry. These little things make a difference. And other people might not notice it, but they say, this picture is okay. They won't know why, but it's these little things that do it. So yeah, I think this change, just a minor change there. And a nice picture. I think it's a nice capture. Buildings, everything came out well. Okay, and our last one of the night is okay, an interesting scene here. This is a, yep. Steve, you here, Steve?
Right here.
I thought I saw, yeah. Okay. Were you on a tripod?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
That's a 2-image HDR,
Okay, 2-image HDR on this.
because the light was, it was
Very
early
nice.
morning, it was just coming, it was just clear in the trees, and it was kind of harsh.
Very nice. The water blurs nicely. When I was looking at this, though, and this is time of day, let's see if I could recreate this. Take a brush. See the trees on the left, the green? They're really, the sunlight is on them hard. And I just experimented in seeing just to these trees on the left side to darken them a little. And let me see. Blacks there. Bring down the highlights. I was just trying to balance it and get it back. If we look, that's before, and it was a little bit just burnt out there because the light was hitting, so I was just trying to balance there. If I selectively just take down the exposure a little, just to this little area there, and you could just play with these too. I mean, some of that is because of the mist there too. Beautiful shot, I think. What do you think?
Athabasca Falls in Jasper, Alberta.
Wow, this is a beautiful scene, and I love it. It's like white water all the way back and around, and really, this is.
Good luck with
But you notice he's got, and this, look at the composition-wise, it's coming round the bend and towards us. This is really, it leads us right, coming right towards us. It's framed nicely by these trees, a little bit to the back. And again, notice the haze back here, but that's normal. That's what our eye sees. You don't want to get rid of that.
There was a fence that I used a remove tool on that went all up the left side.
You don't have to tell us that.
It's
I know, I'm only
educational.
kidding you. No,
It's-
no,
it's
that gets back to
educational.
that thing, but you're right. When we look at this, we really love this picture. So the fact that there was a fence, you had no control. So where was the fence?
Along the left-hand side. It
Along
was
the
kind of a-
left-hand
Kind of
side?
a zigzag. It was an idiot
Yeah.
fence so people wouldn't fall in.
Yeah, no, I think that's perfect. I mean, this is just, it's a stunning picture. And again, I was just trying to balance it a little, and again, that's just the way the sun came in there, too.
Yeah, no, it looks a lot better.
But, yeah, and there's other ways you could work on it, but I think just, again, a great capture. This is really not, I mean, I just love that blur. That blur is just perfect. I mean, that's another thing. Some people like to see every drop in the water. Others like the blur. Some like it in between. It's a taste, too. But I really love the way you did this. So, very nice. Very nice. Oh, this was the difficult one. I saw this. Was this with a phone?
No.
No?
It was,
Okay, because, the data said 5.9 millimeter at f2. Unless that's just an error.
Maybe it was with a phone.
Yeah, at 1/6800th of a second.
I don't know. That picture, I had that hanging around for 2 years. It's from Geneva.
Yeah,
And I just thought it was interesting, but I didn't know what to do with it. I like it has a natural sepia tone, and I like the shimmering, and it kind of looks good from a distance.
this is a hard one because I love the isolated bird down there. But when I go in and just focus on that, I lose the sun and the shimmering. So I was playing around with this. I tried cropping over here or down closer, but I love this shimmering in the water. Let's see. I'm getting another idea here as I go. What if no, I'm not going to generate anything, though.
You're too late.
It may have been a little...
Guess where the rocks came from?
Yeah, that's, but even just more so, you have that path down there as well. But, I like the rock. You get these levels. That's your foreground. It's off in the mid-ground there. But you're right. I wouldn't want to take any of that away. So I like this. And let's see back that other crop. So maybe this vertical. Yeah, maybe right, because it's what you like is you're saying you like the way the sun shimmers down and the bird is in the middle. So to accentuate that, maybe getting rid of some of the left, and again, this is an artistic decision, but getting rid of, whoops, there it is. Getting rid of some of the left and right and having it just like a vertical pano. I don't know. This was a hard one, but I love the subject matter and the light. So this is good. What do you, up the saturation a touch? Okay. Excellent idea. Look at that. It just, the sky, it gave enough of the reds, and look what it did to the color in the water. Not overdid it to where you're going to say, oh, this is over-photoshopped or oversaturated. But it really just, that was probably more like you saw it than that. Interesting. What do you think, Steve? Huh? No, you
I removed the rest.
You've mistaken me. That's right. Amy wants to remove the lower branch. I'm not. It's going the same
There was
direction.
a whole tree there before. So
what do you
I
think?
that just for.
But Steve, what do you think about I'm curious here. What do you think about the color? With the narrow crop and the color.
The narrow crop, I think the narrow crop looks good. I got really burned on one of them before, but the problem with increasing the saturation is if you zoom in on the waves, they start to look goofy.
Okay. One of the things you could do then.
But I mean, if you're not going to blow it up, it looks fine.
No, one of the things you can do now is you could take your saturation up and do it just on the sky. Let me increase it more so we could just see. There. So now you have, we've given the sky a bit more of that, but not touched the waves at all. So you have a lot of things that you, again, this is going to come out to how you like it. You know, you saw the scene, but even in an old picture, with a number of things, I hadn't thought the narrow crop or especially the saturation for the sky like that. There are other things you could do, and then you decide which one you like. But having these tools, it gives you all kinds of things that you could choose what looks best for you. So that is nice shot. So you've all been extremely patient. I thank you all for staying. I wanted to get everyone's in. I hope you learned something tonight. And again, this is just all, you know, we're just here to have fun and learn some stuff. So thank you all very much. those are